I sound nothing like Derek Newpart. Derek's not going to make it today, so it falls to me to do this. So we're going to take a roll call first, and Derek not being here, I'm going to just, I want to know what hobbies people have. What you like reading, gardening, collect, if you collect something, so we can go around, let us know about your hobbies.
Good. Sorry, Madam Chair?
Yeah.
It's Christy. I have a question. I know when Mont used to do this in the past, we recorded everyone that was present, not just members. And so I would like, if we could go back and do that, just so we capture who's present.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Chris, do you have that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and I should have asked if you were rolling and ready to roll before.
Wait, yes, absolutely.
I'm out of practice with this. So we don't do that. All right, so we'll start to my left here.
Frank Percassa, Cincinnati OVRC representative. Hobbies, recording music, reading, and DJing sometimes.
John McNamara, Cleveland rep. I got too many lists. Go ahead.
Mark with Columbus rep. Hobbies would be guns and old cars.
All right.
Joyce Weisenhutter, Mark's fiance, and my hobbies would be spending time at home with the animals and camping.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Meisenhelder.
D-E-R? Weisenhelder?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Rita Hamilton and reading. Go ahead, Dean.
Chris Saban.
And you're my driver.
And I'm his driver.
All right, Dean Hamilton, Akron, Canton representative.
What's your hobby, Dean?
Oh, Bard, mobile, indefinitely, music.
Christopher Saban, and I guess my hobbies are reading and listen to music, and I'm a foodie when I get access to it. Let's put it that way.
Yvette Shackelford, Dayton area alternate, and reading and I guess taking care of the family.
Keith Trammell, Dayton representative. I'm a foodie also, but you can't tell.
Brian Honan, OOD Legal, golf, and whatever my kids decide, I feel like doing this.
Orville Sharp, area manager for Cincinnati,
Well, my
Dayton,
kids
and
are
Columbus.
I'm not that young.
My hobby, I like to write.
Okay. Learn something new every day. Christy Houck, I'm the program manager. I'm also going to say reading. It's a goal of mine to read more in 2025.
Lindsay McKinney, training manager. Reading and kids.
Seth
Okay.
and Nan just came in.
Seth and Nan, introduce yourself and tell us your hobbies.
Tell the truth, Seth.
I can't say it out loud.
Mine is keeping him in line. That's why an occupation more than a hobby.
It is a full-time job.
Okay, and I am Annette Lutz, Toledo representative, and I I read as well, and I collect ceramic gold statues of my breeds.
Really?
Would you like me to say who's on the phone?
Yes, that's I just give me the.
We have Catherine Jacoby, Columbus consultant, Kelsey Furrier, Cleveland, nope, she's Akron. We have Anne Marie Mosley, Cleveland consultant, Sheila Maurer from Dayton, Debbie Garrett, Columbus. We have Jeffrey Pilecki from Toledo, and Michelle Kazar.
Yep, they're AAG.
AAG, and then we have John Canaday, we have Dwayne Burkholder, and Jim Devis
There is one number on here I do not know, 220-216-3894. You could introduce yourself.
Not a local number, so. Might be one of our Indiana.
They don't either.
That's okay.
Is Mark Wood here?
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Bernie.
I didn't hear his name.
Oh, Berna, sorry, yeah. it's
Oh,
also on
Brenda's on
there.
there, okay. Oh, we don't want to forget our deputy.
Did you get that? There's one more number.
Yeah, 331.
Okay.
Oh, Trent Trumbull.
Oh, Trent,
Trent, okay.
Okay. Before we go on with the agenda, I will need to recognize, since we last met, one of our very active, he wasn't a current member, but had been in the past. Everyone, I'm sure, knows about John Georgia passing away. John ended up becoming a good friend of mine, and him and I worked together, obviously, here with OVRC and quite a bit with the National Federation of the Blind, and I just ask everyone to kind of keep his memory and know the contributions that he gave to our program, and keep his wife Kathy in your thoughts and prayers, and his kids and stuff. So, just wanted to make sure we mention John. Okay, minutes for the last meeting in November. Everyone get them, and does anyone have any corrections? Okay, and without objection, we will move forward and pass those.
Are we gonna have a motion?
No,
Okay.
there's no motion, we just move forward without objection, so, to accept them. Unless somebody wants to move, to amend them. Okay, the responses to the, recommendations from last time, does anyone have any comment for that? Okay. Okay. Let me do something later. All right, what about public comment? I did not receive any. Eric had told me that he had not received any.
I have one.
Okay, who's that?
Master, sorry.
John? Is that John?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Okay. First off, I just want to make you guys aware, I read this article yesterday. Governor DeWine is about to sign paperwork with the National Defense Contractor, 15 miles southeast of Columbus. They're going to build a 5 million square foot plant building drones. It's going to be called Arsenal 1. It's going to have 4,000 high-paid tech employees. We should put that on our radar now. The building's being constructed. Arsenal 1. The name of the company is ANDURIL Industries out of Costa Mesa, California. That they're a national defense contractor. I don't know if we have priority with that or not, but never hurts to ask.
Drones.
Drones.
They're making drones.
Yeah, they're making drones and unmanned aircraft.
Is that all your public comment?
That, and I would like an update on what you guys have done for Elkton.
Elkton Prison.
Yes.
I'll have to get back with you on that. Did you go with them at one time before?
Yes.
To go there? Maybe you need to go with Kelsey and make another trip there. I know that Amy was working on, she had to do a FOIA request for their commissary numbers.
Yes, Frank.
And yeah, Christie, I think I do want to move, I believe we should move forward with Elkton too. And one of the things, that I think we need to determine is the commissary and vending, are they two different jobs? Are they going to be one job? And I think we have to have all of those numbers in the committee, and we all have to take a hard look at those numbers and see how that plays out. and I don't have a preference one way or another. I'm not against creating a really good job or two really good jobs, but we need to try and get moving forward with that. You know, I remember hearing in November that our program was down a total of 15 facilities after COVID, so we need to try and start replacing those. And I know it's going to be a slow process, but like John was asking, try and get information together, and that's not a bad idea, Christie, if we can get some people to go actually up there and go through, do another tour up there. Anyway, that's all.
Mr. Chair, do you,
Okay, John, we're still technically in public comment. So, John, were you finished with that? And then we can kind of look at some of these, because we have a few others we need to ask about too.
Well, I want to clarify
Okay.
that we asked for the numbers for the commissary, and they told us no, but what they did give us was the population and how much they're allowed to spend each month, which tells us exactly that it is $600,000 a month. The vending and the commissary says absolutely be two separate jobs. And I'm ready to go this week, whenever Kelsey's ready to go.
Mr. John, if,
Yvette?
yeah, I'm sorry. I was wondering if someone else can join you on that trip.
Say anybody.
John, I
Anybody
would like
can
to
do.
join you on that trip.
Okay. Were you done then with your public?
Yep, that was mine.
Okay. Did anyone else have public comment? Okay. Let's see what time. It's early, so we do have guest speakers at 9:30 from Indiana, but we have a little time. We can knock out a few of these things I think that are going to be fairly quick. Christy, you want to talk about the virtual meeting?
Sure. So the virtual meeting, it did pass and it was signed into law by the governor. But how laws that are signed in work is that it doesn't go into effect for 90 days. I do not have an accessible, there's not even an accessible format to share. I tried, I had someone in our agency look and they're like, it's not accessible. We did share, I think it was shared with, I know the AAG has it. Basically, you guys have to get together with the AAG and figure out what it requires as a policy. And I don't know if like a bylaw would satisfy that. You guys have to come up with what does that mean for OVRC? I know for the law it's pretty broad for us, which is good. There's specific things in there for like public retirement system and the fire retirement where they're very prescriptive and say that, you can do virtual, but you have to show up 3/4 of the time. I don't think that's the case for us, which is good. But, so 90 days, once I get a version that I can share, I absolutely will do so.
Okay, 90 days from the day it was signed?
January 8th, I think it
Okay.
was signed,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
But I think that overall, that's good news. I think there are some, again, I don't have it in front of me, there might be some requirements, like if you're gonna be virtual, you have to notify the chair within so many days or hours, stuff like that. If you're gonna talk about, I think, specifics on budget, so there's some specifics there.
Okay. I was on a call the other day for another hat that I wear with the NFB, and we were talking a little bit about this, and Berna was on the call with us, and she said that the Attorney General's office, somebody in there is drafting some proposed bylaw language that would fit with with the law. They're not saying that's what we have to enact, they're just kind of giving us some model language, from what I understand, that we can look at and discuss, and put into our bylaws over the next 90 days. Michelle, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, will you check into that for us about our bylaws and anything that's being drafted through your office?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me see what's being drafted right now. We got the basic summary of it that we're all looking through right now. So we are beginning the process of going through all of it.
Okay, and once you have some kind of draft language, if you could send that to our committee, and we can start looking at that and working through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the notification requirement is 48 hours prior to the meeting. The chair has to be notified for anybody who plans to attend virtually.
Okay. Sounds good.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Keith?
I didn't know we had bylaws. Is there a way I can get a copy, a printed copy of them from somebody?
Frank just said he would send them to you.
Thank you, Frank. Can we just send it to the whole committee so that we have the same information?
I can send it to
That would be great.
Thank you, Frank, again. And that.
probably today or tomorrow.
Sounds good. Okay, anything else on the virtual meetings? That's awesome. It's, I think that's gonna be very helpful to a lot of us. Especially those of you who have to travel quite some distance.
Oh, Madam Chair,
Yes, Steve?
do we know exactly when the 90 days might be around, what month or anything?
April 8th is my, if they said, if it was signed January 8th, then
Okay.
April 8th, so
Okay,
if we have our bylaws in place and all of that in place, our April meeting could be potentially the first one.
okay.
All right, let me see if I can find another fast.
The RSA proposed.
Oh, yeah, okay,
federal-
RSA, proposed, language, Christie.
Yeah, so last week, and I got another email today from Pat McDonald. So a couple of years ago, the process started where there was conversations with the Department of Transportation, requested an opinion on whether EV chargers are vending machines. And so from that, these new definitions have come out on what is vending. And the Federal Register notice, it's lengthy, and there's a lot of narrative explaining the rationale for the proposed changes. But the actual proposed changes are on the last page and are pretty brief. The definition as proposed would likely not make EV chargers vending machines, but the definition is not absolutely clear on that point. Multiple areas of Randolph-Shepherd regs where the community's been asking for clarity and have been part of multiple arbitrations, particularly but not exclusively related to troop dining, were not addressed, which I think is disappointing. I know that the NCSAB is going to be putting together comments to submit as a group, and they are requesting feedback, and I do recommend that, you guys do read this. When I read it initially, even though it doesn't say EV chargers, I was like, this has EV chargers, I think it's about that. We had a call last Friday with the BEP directors across the country. RSA was on the call, and they started the call by saying that they could not talk about it.
That's great.
Okay.
So that's one update, and if you would let me go on, Annette, on a couple more things that they said today in today's email. And I know that I sound like a broken record. This beneficial ownership that they are talking about, that again is, they're talking about it again, and it's for privately owned businesses that are not sole proprietorship, are not publicly traded, are not a 501c3 nonprofits, are required to file a brief statement with copies of a government-issued ID for all persons who own and control 25% or more of their business. The requirements went into effect January 1, and the daily fines for late submissions are substantial. Information provided is kept confidential and is made available to federal and state law enforcement upon request in connection with an investigation of a crime. This requirement, which was passed by Congress with support of Republicans and Democrats, is intended to address the growing problem of shell companies used for drug trafficking and terrorism. Currently, enforcement of the requirement is on hold while the challenge to the law is before the Supreme Court. The court challenge does not remove the requirement to file. It only suspends issuing of fines for people whose filing is late. Filing is done online, takes less than 5 minutes if you have all the information needed, the tax ID of the business entity, social security number of anyone who owns more than 25% of the company, a photograph of the front and back. And it goes on, the court case is on a fast track. The request to stay at the lower court's injunction on enforcement of the law came to the Supreme Court on New Year's Eve, and the response by the parties suing to permanently enjoin enforcement of the requirement is due to the court today. The court is expected to rule that all businesses that are not members of a small business association that brought the lawsuit are still required to file, while the court case is attempting to overturn the law entirely, work its way through the court system. So you've got that. And then the third thing is that yesterday they released a TAC on the use of funds for management services. We're still going through it. I will send that out early next week.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Keith.
to what Chrissy was saying, is that the BOI thing that you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm
Yes.
trying to follow you.
Yep. So again, three things. There's the proposed changes to the federal regulations definitions. There's the BOI that I just talked about, and then there's the TAC on management services. So there's a lot.
So again, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
I know Chrissy said the thing was lengthy, but the part that was affecting us at the end, and it was real brief, is it possible to send that out? Like, I know I got it, but I don't want to have to go through the whole, you know what I'm saying, to understand what I'm trying to adhere to.
Are you talking about the BOI?
Yes.
Yeah, I can find that again and send what you guys are supposed to do.
Okay.
We'll resend that.
Thank you.
And, Madam Chair, another one we could talk about is the NCSAB, membership.
Oh, yes, NABM.
Yes, sorry, you're right.
Membership. Yes, I had that on my list here. Every year, we are part of the National Association of Blind Merchants membership. We get consulting services for that. We get speakers at statewide, and we get lobbying services to help our blind vendors. It helps to contribute to that. And it's $3,500, and every year they send that invoice, and typically in January we pass that, so.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I'll make the motion that we renew our subscription to National Association of Blind Merchants.
One second.
Was that Mark Ward?
No.
Oh, who is that?
that's,
Oh, Seth.
yes.
Can he second as an alternate?
Yes,
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 Derek's not
Derek's not here, so that is the representative from Zanesville today.
He's a rep.
Oh, I see. Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Just wanted to check. God, my brain isn't working today.
Okay, any discussion?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Dee.
All right. I just wanted to ask Frank if he could repeat the motion a little louder.
That we renew our subscription to National
Association of Blind Merchants. And I actually have it in the minutes as well.
It's about, Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
It's $3,500. That's, for all the things that Annette mentioned, consulting services. Sometimes the committee consults with Carrie Smith, sometimes management consults with Carrie Smith, or Nikki Gakos. Nikki was instrumental a couple, 22 or 23, when we were having some issues with Farmers Fridge. He and I both got on the phone with Farmers Fridge and got something worked out for, blind vendors across the country. It may not have been perfect, but it was better than what Farmers Fridge was trying to do down at the University of Cincinnati. So they do help, and like Annette said, they also will provide speakers at statewide, and they do, I think they do other stuff behind the scenes, and Annette can probably elaborate more on that than I can.
So, Mr. Chair, Ms. Chair, I should say, just for clarification, so the motion is to allocate $3,500 in funds for membership to NABM?
No, it's just to renew the
Just to renew.
subscription.
Okay.
To NABM.
Okay, that's what I have, but I just wanted to check.
Okay. Any more comments? Questions? Okay, do the vote. Frank?
Yes.
Seth?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Keith?
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes. All right. So it's getting close to 9:30. Are our friends from Indiana on the line? Are they, Lindsay, do you see any new people on? Okay.
What's the 586? This one is. Oh, here's Leo. Leo's coming on.
And who, for the, what am I trying to say, for the record, who is it, 586? Is that another?
Well, we can start with Mr. Chairperson from Indiana. Welcome.
Yes, good morning, well, thank you.
You and I haven't talked before. My name's Annette Lutz, and I'm the vice chair for our committee. Our chairperson, Derek Newbarth, is not here today, so I'm acting as chair. But welcome. We're very happy you're able to join us.
Thank you for having me.
I guess we're going to hear some about how you guys do transitional inventories. And I don't.
Yeah, I don't know how every state does it, but when we do it, and it's all very new, as you know, this tax and stuff keep coming down and changing, modifying things, so there's a lot of nuances to it. It's all new, but the last, I don't know, maybe 6 months, it's been, whether you're a student just coming into the program or you're a seasoned veteran that's been in for 30 years, doesn't matter. The site is evaluated, goes up for bid. There's a certain dollar amount that is allotted for a starting amount. I'm doing air quotes. There's a starting amount that's given, and they're very generous, at least our state. We have a great relationship with our state, and I know that's rare. When I go to national meetings and such, I hear really harsh things sometimes, and I hear good things sometimes, but we happen to be on the good side of that. They make an allotment, they come up with a dollar amount, and it's usually very generous. I would say it's usually 10 to 20% more than I think is necessary, but that's a wonderful thing. I don't push that away. And actually, that number is through VR. The state sends it to Voc Rehab. The money actually comes from Voc Rehab, and you spend it in several different ways. We use Vistar. We use Sam's Club. We use a lot of different outlets, but they're easy to move around. Most of the money usually goes to Vistar. Probably 70% is allotted to buy from Vistar. The rest is up to BLM to decide where they want to spend it, and then VR handles it from there. The transition has been very smooth so far. Like I said, it's really new. I know all states are really new to it because in the past it just wasn't a thing. It's been an amazing blessing. You take over a spot and it's a large spot with, let's say, 50 machines, decent sized spot. You might have a micro market and say that the dollar amount comes out to $30,000, right? You have as long as you need to spend that $30,000, the way I understand it. Now my director of our, what we call BEVIS, Blind and Visually Impaired Services in our city, will be on here as well, Lockett Phillips.
I'm here.
Oh, hey, Lockett.
It was at 9:30, right?
Yes.
Sure I wasn't late.
Yeah. Got on early.
Good morning, everybody. First.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Theo, I don't know how much you covered so far, so I kind of came in the middle.
Just the idea of there's a certain amount of money that you come up with based on the route itself, and then VR is told that number, and it's allotted to either Vistar or we're mostly Vistar, but then other little outlets that we may use. And you can take it here.
Yeah, and that's the new tax. So that's our adjustment or our modification to our program. Historically, an existing manager, in our state of Indiana, after the first 2 week ration, when a manager is a trainee, the manager owns that inventory. Period. There's no credit to the state or anything like that. So once the 2 week ration is given to a trainee, after that point they own it. And then if they ever bid off the location and receive an additional location or a separate location, they would sell off their inventory to the manager coming in their own location. And then
they would have to prove and purchase the inventory for their new location. The TAC changed that, at least in the state of Indiana, modified the how we go by it, which means now, when a manager changes a location or adds a micro market for upper mobility, say to an existing location, RVR gives them a 2-week ration, such as the trainees. So it modified that process now to where we, the state, we produce what the 2-week ration would be through an Excel form, which I've already forwarded over to you guys, the state. How we do it, it's about fill rate, filling machines at a fill rate, how many times you fill per that location. So as Leo said, if there was a location, just as an example, it may not be exact, that a location has 50 machines, we did the numbers, and a 2-week ration of those 50 machines would be $30,000. Then VR would purchase the $30,000 for the incoming manager, and we would turn that inventory, that amount, over to them. They own the inventory at that point. What typically happens is VR, they don't need the 2-week ration at that point, which means part of that $30,000 will go, it will be a credit. Will go to buy the inventory that's already in the machine. So let's just say out of 50 machines, that was $15,000. And then the manager will have the opportunity to, because we have accounts with Vistar, to either assign the 15,000 credit to Vistar or assign authorization to them for 15,000, and then they upload invoices until they reach that amount, and then they're on their own. I think the issue here is when the transition part. In the state of Indiana, which is really a tight-knit state, our managers are close-knit, we're kind of like a family. It's always been the case that the manager, when the manager transitions a location, the manager comes with a representative. The manager who's incoming comes with representation, with a representative. I always send a business consultant out, and that's only to make sure everybody goes by the rules, which means the manager who has a location is selling their prejudice and selling their product, and then the manager incoming has the right to buy that product or buy their own product. What we've always done is we set the rules, if they are interested in buying the product, which the previous manager owns, that the RBC is there to make sure everybody goes. The manager may say, I'm gonna buy all your products, but I wanna make sure I'm not buying anything that has expiration dates within a week or 2. I'm not buying anything that expires within a week from now or 2 weeks from now. So the manager, what the VC, the business consultant, will make sure that the manager leaving is not trying to force them to buy something that they don't want to buy. So that's the only reason, other than sometimes they help them count things because they don't want to be there all day, but that's all volunteer work. So the responsibility of the outgoing manager and the ingoing manager is to count items, which we have forms that we document, and sometimes managers say, look, we got chocolate, some chocolate ranges from 80 to 90 cents. Let's just count them all and charge 85. It's all coming out of the account or the 30,000 that VR is getting. They count all the items collectively together, the representative, and their responsibility is to check those dates to make sure whatever is on these forms that's counted is going to be purchased by the incoming manager, because once this count process is over, you own it. Then our manager's there, our VC's there to send you, make sure you check the dates, let's count everything. They go through machine by machine, very simple. They both take the forms back, add them all up, come up with the amount, and say, yep, it's 15,000, you said 15,000, and then the authorization from VR goes to the incoming the outgoing manager for $15,000. So there's no threat at this point for the manager not being paid. And there's no threat for the manager, now the manager leaving don't necessarily want to take all that product out of the machine and take it with them because they have ordering functions for their other location. A manager that's incoming don't particularly want you to take all the stuff out, so I put the exact same thing back in. So we're talking about resources and time and investment, and if there's any threat for people who are saying that we don't trust, in the previous way we did it, before a person accepted a bid, they had to prove they had the reasonable amount in their bank in some way that they could pay for that inventory. But now we don't have to do that because VR is paying. And VR's credit is good. They're gonna write up the authorizations and say they're gonna guarantee the amount. So, and then also for the outgoing manager, you also, that money belongs to you. So when you're there and you're selling your inventory for $15,000, you get a check for $15,000 and you move on to the next one. So I don't even see what the benefit would be for the state-owned inventory, and the state never really gets paid for the inventory because unless the location goes out of business. So it's really providing just another responsibility of the state to be involved in manager-on-manager business. They're never getting the refund unless the location goes away. So it's making, in my opinion, a fairly concerning situation to a more difficult situation because we got, in my opinion, we got too many hands in the pot. So the advantage for the outgoing manager is the fact that they sell their inventory and receive a check. The manager from the incoming is the R's paying for it, so the credit's good. And then they have additional 2-week ratchet to order for a few more weeks, and everybody goes through smoothly. So I just kind of gave you the 2 or 3 minute kind of verse. I wanted to make sure we take all questions. And Leo, if I missed anything, feel free to jump in. And again, my name's Lockie Phillips. I'm the director of the program for the state of Indiana, and Leo's the committee chairman. I'm sure he's probably told you that already.
Leo,
I just wanted to make sure that people had time to ask questions.
Mr. Chair, for your, just for my record, Leo, what is your last name?
Leighton, Leighton.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any questions? Okay, Frank?
My question is, and I don't know which one of you gentlemen want to field it, what is the process if you run into where you have two managers who just, for whatever reason, cannot agree?
Well, they have a right to not agree. We do have a right. That very seldom happens in the state of Indiana, but let's just say it's never about financial because that's taken care of. But let's just say, for the sake of your question, is the two managers never got along. Let's just say that. And they said, one manager comes in and says, look, I'm taking all my product. They're gonna have to put everything in. Or the manager coming in saying, I'm not buying anything from that person. I want them gone on the day that we transition. We would allow them to do that because they have a right to do it. However, it will double the responsibility, the time, the effort, and the resources to do that. Now, so we wouldn't get involved with any personal situations. The manager who owns the product has the right to either sell it or take it with them. The manager who's incoming has the right to purchase it or bring in all their own. What we say that if that does not happen, why would we want to make a possible 1 day, 2 or 3 hour responsibility into a 2 or 3 day responsibility? And the person who's leaving has to truck all that stuff out. The person that's incoming has to fill the machine with quite possibly the exact same thing that just came out of it. So that's kind of the theory about that. We haven't had that. I think his name is Frank. We haven't had that, Frank. But if it was to come up and a manager just totally refused and just say, I don't want to do business with that person, we would not stand in the way. We make sure that that manager removed everything and the manager brought everything. But what I would do is I would counsel and recommend, I would want to know why, and I would want to communicate with those managers to see, and at least educate on how much more difficult that process is going to be. And if they, after communicating with me and hearing me and coming to it, if they still wanted to do that, I would not stand in the way. That's their business, that's their opportunity, that's their right. Leo, you want to respond to that?
No, perfect. We don't run it, at least we haven't, but it could be an issue someday. There are certain people who don't get along, and that's life, and we adjust to it and we move on.
Yeah, and also take under consideration that when you remove all your products, especially if we talk about a site, let's just say 50 or 20 machines, you have to pay the employees to do that. So you're paying employees for a longer period of time to do all that. You got to take it all out. You got to stack it on the truck. You got to take it back properly to the warehouse. You got to restack it. You got to do FIFO. Make sure first in, first out. You got to, and then start figuring out other things. So it's not only just the fact of what we're talking about is, are we letting emotions get in the way of business? And we try to never let emotions get in the way with business because business has to be done. So we got to keep emotions out. I do understand some people find that difficult at some times, but emotions is not a part of business. The feeling that you're going to get for doing 2 or 3 days worth of work that could have been a half day work, and feeling the fact that you did what you wanted to do, how's that going to affect you on the financials?
Madam Chair.
And the resources and all that. So that's what I would counsel to both managers. And if they still felt very strongly about it, then it's not my business.
Get that?
Yes. Mr. Phillips, I have a question. Okay, I'll slow it down a little bit as far as the transitioning from an existing manager, the leaving to an incoming manager, as far as the dollar amount. So VR, okay, I understand the part that VR is buying the incoming inventory. So say if the person that's there now had a $30,000 inventory, or the person that's leaving had a $30,000 inventory, that doesn't matter you just calculate what's left. So if it's only $15,000 left, do they have to come up with that additional? Because like here, if we came in with 30,000, we have to leave that or the cash amount.
Right.
How is that different?
Ours is a little different because right now you're working on the credit system.
Mm-hmm.
But our policy is in Indiana, once that TAC came out, was that we were going to mimic our training process. Our trainees get a 2-week ration. So that doesn't matter how much is in the location, how much this, that. The only way that matters is the fact that they're going to have enough inventory that lasts them 2 weeks. Now, that there's equations to do that, which means how many times you replenish a machine. And if let's say you have a rest area, you fill the rest area once a week. So we would take how much it would take to fill that machine and times it times 2. Because you're going to fill once a week would be 2 fills in 2 weeks. I'm just giving you so in our 2-week ration, we're coming up with a number. And then we're cutting up that number to say, okay, if the 2-week ration for this location is $30,000, and when you do the count, that happens to come up to $10,000, then $10,000 will be paid to the manager as they leave, and then they have $20,000 to finish the 2-week ration part of our policy. So it's not just what they're buying. It's not the number there is just a number. The 2-week ration is the number that we focus on.
Okay.
If it's $30,000 and you count $10,000 inventory, you got $20,000 left, and you figure out how you want to, if you want to use Vistar or if you want to have the $20,000 authorized to you, and you keep uploading invoices until you get to that amount. That's what the state of Indiana focuses on, the 2-week ration. Not only the what's there is only a portion of that number, because in filling up the machines now, that may not last you 2 weeks. So then there's a little bit more. Now, right now, you're in a kind of a credit situation where you're just trying to pay back, or make right what you received. Ours go a little bit beyond that. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question?
Yes, and so the outgoing person that's leaving, so VR would be responsible for that additional 20,000. If it was only 10,000, VR would replace.
VR is going to get a number from the state, from us, DEP, and then they're going to write authorization to say this person has the right to have $30,000 worth of inventory, and then the manager is going to say, okay, I'm going to use a portion of that to pay the manager because I'm accepting that's going to be part of the 2-week ration, what's in the machines or the snack bar now. Okay. That's part of the 2-week ration, because I got to count what's there, because that's going to give you some days or a week depending on how busy the location is. And then whatever the difference is what you set up to replenish that stock in order to make it 2 weeks.
Okay. And that goes.
So really, we look at the full number and we kind of slice it up and try to figure out what's the best way for the manager to use it. That provides them inventory for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Seth.
if you have a question, please. My question is, do you have anything in place for, say, if the incoming operator does not want to buy inventory and the outgoing operator wanted to, do you have anything in place for the time frame that you now have? Does the incoming operator receive VR before they take over the facility so they have it on hand on day one? Do you have any rules that?
We generally, once a site has been decided to be transitioned, we generally have a meeting with all parties interested. We have a conference call with the incoming manager, with the outgoing manager, with the business consultant, with the VR counselor, so we go over the process of the transition before we even get there. So at that time is when we're going to figure out whether there's an issue with the incoming manager or outgoing manager. If we get past that, then it's really just about setting dates and talking about things that happen. Sometimes it'll be specific things that one location have that other ones don't have that we may need to talk about. We may want to set dates for the transition. We want to make sure we go over the rules. We want to say that, if they want to set, the income manager could say, I don't want to buy anything that's expiring in the next 3 weeks or 1 week or 2 weeks. So we ask that question. So we want to put it all on record to make sure everybody understands what's going to go on and what's the process during that transition. So we know that ahead of time. Once we have that conference call, and all the players in this particular situation are on that conference call, so we can thoroughly go through it. And again, our state, most of our managers know each other. Most of them are part of the National Federation of the Blind or on a bowling league, and there are some that don't know each other. But I guess in the state of Indiana, we kind of trust the person until they give us a reason not to. We don't walk into it not trusting. That's kind of, I'm speaking for all of us, Leo, if you disagree with that, that's fine. But that's how I've been here for going on 21 years. And we haven't had that. I can think of maybe one time, maybe 15 years ago, but we've all, what I can say about the state of Indiana, and this is going a little bit beyond the question you're asking me, but I just want to say it. Myself, in operating this program for over 20 years, Leo's the latest committee chairman, and there's been many more before. What we may not agree on everything, but we all agree on where we're trying to go to. So occasionally it's just communication. If me and Leo, we're communicating and there's a difference of opinion, sometimes we agree to disagree and we go one way or the other, and then we don't spend a lot of time pointing fingers at why something didn't go, because unfortunately you got to try some things to get from A to B.
Amen.
We spend most of our time trying to figure out how are we going to get to where we're going. As of last year, our program from 2023 to 2024, imagine this, we grossed $2 million more dollars, not 20,000, not 200,000, $2 million more dollars. And a lot of that was an influx of micro markets. A lot of that was we got a military base, and we developed several locations. So we spend a lot more time pushing forward than we do hold ourselves back, debating about things that in a larger scale of things that we have to sometimes understand that we're going to agree to disagree, but we have to move forward. So that's $2 million. Our average income went from $53,000 to $76,000. The median of our income went from $32,000 to $55,000. So from 2023 to 2024, whatever we're doing worked because it added more money in our manager's pocket, which is what we want to do.
Madam Chair, I got another question.
Go ahead, Yvette.
As far as the VR, does the operators have to apply, like I'm an existing operator, and in order for that to work, we would have to open up a case. Do you all have just a person from VR that works with the program, and the operators, being in the program, they automatically are eligible, or do they have to go and get a case open and go through all that rigmarole?
When the TAC hit, we work with VR, and I have somebody on my staff now who is a manager of VR, so it makes it a little easier for me because she's a guru of VR. I hired her as my assistant of the program, and she was a VR supervisor. However, when the TAC came down, we worked with VR to rewrite a policy that automatically opened up a BEP person's case, which we assisted with, made sure that all the cases were open, which took a different direction than a normal case. Normal cases, sometimes they can't see you for a month or two. In the BEP, your case is open immediately.
Good.
Because it's right, it's nothing, we're already past that point of understanding that you're in the program, you have a right to have these services, and we created another tab for BEP individuals who are transitioning locations or having a micro market, so their case is open within 3 days from transitioning location. And we've set up some policies for VR, which I can forward over to. I told Chrissy I was going to forward it over to her. I may not have done that yet, but we wrote up policies and worked with them to modify that because we knew our managers couldn't wait for a case to be open because we could be transitioning here in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Exactly. Yes.
I have a question. Does this same policy work, especially with the VR side? Because I think that's part of our holdup. The VR thing is very interesting. Temporaries. Does it work the same for somebody taking on a temporary location?
No, it does not.
Okay.
Has to be a permanent location, and it has to be a manager at that location. Couldn't use the TAC if you have a location that needed some assistance from a commercial account. So it has to be manager there, and it has to be a permanent location. Managers can still take temporary locations, they just would have to afford it for themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
I'm fine with that.
That's good.
Someone else have a,
I have.
go ahead, Frank.
The only other question I have, is it sounds like you guys move pretty fast with VR. What is do you have an average turnaround time that VR can get the money and everything available to the vendor?
Oh, it varies, but it happens really quick. As a matter of fact, the process, as long as the case is updated and all the information is in there, which we did that too. We went through, I had my assistant, which was a VR supervisor, go through all of our managers' cases in VR and update the information of what would be required, so nothing would hold us back from moving quickly. Typically, it's a week or two for us they're really waiting on us to give them the 2-week ration, and then they just create an authorization. That's pretty much what happens. So once we get the number, and again, when you transition location, when you want to bid, it's still sometimes 2, 3, or 4 weeks before you're going to get it. So you got time. We just have to use that time wisely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Did I answer your question, Frank?
Yes.
I'm gonna go back to the temporary, because I would say at least half of our transitions are to a temporary operator, for a myriad of reasons. Especially a lot of times taking on something new, establishing sales, or it's a last minute transition, something like that. What is your process, and assuming it is a blind manager that's going in?
Sure. The only difference from you and us is probably the fact that the temporary operator that's leaving owns the inventory. That's probably the only difference. They own inventory, so when we put out a temporary location, in our rules, the person who's interested, who lives the closest, who doesn't have a temporary operator, has first right of refusal to that operation. Manager who wants it, says I want it. We have a meeting. Again, it's a transition, so we don't have a meeting. There's no VR at that meeting, but we have a meeting with those managers, and it's strictly really about them coming up with a date and time to count all the product and transition. The incoming manager accounts with the outgoing manager, and then the incoming manager pays for the inventory, and then it's theirs. So the only difference I see is that somehow the state owns you guys' inventory. So when you're transitioning, say for instance, when you took over a location, it had $5,000 worth of inventory, and the state owns it. And then when you are leaving, it has 47, so you may owe $300 to make the difference. In our case, the manager who got who owns that inventory, 5,000, and then you count it today and it's 3,700. The incoming managers just have to pay them the 3,700 and it's done.
Yep.
Other than the contractual work that we do.
Simple.
Does that answer your question?
Yes,
Definitely does.
thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Go
Madam
ahead,
Chair.
Christie.
It's Christie. So I do appreciate Lockett and Leo coming on, and it's a lot. And I really do encourage, if we have further questions, to send that, maybe to Annette, and that we can then send additional questions to Lockett and Leo. Because you might leave tonight saying, oh, I wish I would have asked this, this, and this.
Sure.
And that we could, absolutely follow up and ask additional questions if you guys can think of it.
One thing, and I'll speak for Leo hopefully in turn, the one thing I'll tell you is we'll do everything we can in our power to help you answer any questions and do what we need to do. That we feel that we're all together, we're all going in the same direction. We want to provide any assistance we can, and there may be an opportunity for you guys to help us. And we hope that you would help us, your committee chair, committee people, and Christie would do the same. We may need you guys. There's obviously some things that you guys will do better than us or have experience. We'll work together. We'll answer those questions. We'll respond. We'll do whatever it needs to take to make sure that we can be of any assistance that we can. Leo, if you have anything to add to that, feel free.
That sounds great. Yeah, emails, phone calls, texts. I'm way better with email than anything else, but yeah, if you have questions or comments or, hey, what if this? Yeah, sure, send it my way. If I can't answer, I'll get with Lockett. If Lockett can't answer, we have a history we have people that have been in the program for 40 years, so, and things change though. I know just as much as them about the new stuff because things change, but, whatever we can do, absolutely, willing to do it.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you so much for
Thank you
coming
so
on here, and
much.
I do want to say, I loved hearing you speak about your program. This inventory is just something we're wrestling with, but both your SLA and your vendors, it sounds like all of you are accredited to your program and are a good model for us nationally. The fact that you speak so well of one another, we can appreciate that. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys for welcoming us, and thank you for listening, and thank you for that comment. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thanks for having us.
Thanks.
It's great to sort of another meeting. That's really neat.
Great.
Chrissy, I will send you that VR policy. I
Awesome.
promise.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you
Take care,
guys.
guys. Luck with
Bye-bye.
everything.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right.
It's great.
That was very intriguing. Very
Good
interesting.
information.
Great information. I remember some of that.
I don't believe it did. That's our temporaries.
So,
We can talk for a few minutes about, I know we want to get into it later. And
one of the things with temporaries, if we are initially setting up a site to establish sales, if we've never been in there, it's my understanding it's still the responsibility of OOD, the SBI, to stop that. The question becomes when we have temporary operators that, for various other reasons, that's where it gets a little tricky that we'll have to figure out. What I would also like to do is, if it's okay with you guys, is that, Kentucky too does it a little differently. And I would like to invite their, and I haven't talked to them, their chair and their BEP director next month.
That'd be
And
good.
same thing, half an hour conversation, they can explain it. And, why reinvent the wheel? And maybe we can pick and choose from different places. And it won't, I'm not saying we adopt every single thing. Once Lockett sends me the VR policy, I can share that. I can also share, he did say, he did send us the spreadsheet that I can share on how they determine the 2-week ration. I think that also is going to be a little difficult for us to wrap our heads around, because it's not how we've been doing it in the past. And how, Yvette, how you mentioned, like right now, if someone has $5,000 in their, in their stock, it's not what the person has in their stock right now, it's going in what is 2 weeks ration.
Correct.
So it might be that 2-week ration might only be 3,000, and so then the outgoing has an excess of 2. They've got to determine, are they gonna sell that to the incoming as extra, or are they taking that with them?
Yes.
And the other way too, maybe the incoming or the outgoing has 5,000, but a 2-week ration is 7,000. Then VR should be making up that 2,000. So there
That's
are
right, I
some,
understood it.
what do they say, the devil's in the details. So,
And
That's the way I understood
I
it.
have a quick question, then we'll move on and try and get to some of this later. But Berna, are you on there?
Yes, what's your question?
Okay, because that's a thing, every time we did a transitional inventory to a permanent location, one of the big key things on the presentation we just heard was that the VR would buy the inventory for every transition. And I know you probably can't answer this today, but just a thought about it. Is that something that VR would do here? Because I think that changes a lot of things. I know that the TAC allows VR to do that. I never anticipated that you guys would want to do that for every transition.
I would like to see their policy when he sends it over. Let's take a look at that and see what the parameters are that they have around that and compare it to ours. And if it seems workable, it's something I'm willing to look at.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
and we have to involve finance, and we have to look at the monies, and there,
Yes.
it can't be just an open checkbook type thing, and that's.
It'll be
the other
finance,
piece.
it'll be policy, there'll be a lot of hoops, but.
Absolutely.
Look, let's get their policy and let's look at it, and, you know, I'm willing to entertain things, you know, as long as it works with, we can change policy. It's a matter of, does it work with what's in our financial requirements in the Ohio code? And then, you know, looking at our agency's interpretation of RSA's guidance as well. So, but let's look at their policy first, and let's keep things an open mind and keep things on the table, and we'll go from there.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I do have a question. Bernadette, I want to find out if there is a code policy or something that needed to be changed, because in order for us to move to the future on how we do things in Ohio, which I think is important for us to do, how long would that take to maybe request or to modify or do whatever we need to do to our policies? If we wanted to adopt
it varies
anything.
depending on what we're asking for. I mean, it sounds like this would be a pretty significant change, so it could take a few months.
Okay.
You know, we can try to push it, because it has to go through, and it depends too, if it's something that we think we can do in a procedure, there's a difference between policies and procedures, okay? Procedures we can change internally, and there's a process for that, but it goes a little quicker. If it's policies, we have to put them out there for public comment, so that takes a little time. Everything has to go to the unions to make sure that, you know, there's nothing in there that changes our labor relations. So there's a bit of a process where once things are finalized, they have to go through, but it can take a few months. It's not forever and ever, but it's not super quick.
Also, anything that we do, I mean, we could all shake our hands today and say, hey, this is what we want to do, and it would still take many months to get through a rules process. We'd have to change our.
Which is why it's not quite as complicated as a rule. There's a rule, that does take at least 90 days, maybe more. Policies are a little quicker than that, but more like 80, 60 days. But I think the reason that I really would like to see Indiana's policy, and Kentucky's too, if we get it, is that if we don't have to read, because what we have to do, the first thing would be to draft language. But if we can plagiarize, if you will, if we can take some of their language and use it and change it to what we want it to be, what you want it to be, that's the first hurdle, to get a draft. And then everybody reviews, all the places we have to take it, reviews, puts their comments in, and we make adjustments and so on. So if we don't have to start from scratch, that's going to help.
I got one more question, Madam Chair. As far as getting someone from VR, it seems like that is the critical piece to be on, you know, on the, so we would have to look at their policy. I mean, that's part of the of what we're looking at, because it seems like we have to have a dedicated person or that works with the BE program. That's because it seems like he has someone.
We don't have a dedicated person like that right now, but I think we may be able to work around that. I mean, we have liaisons for, you know, other things, colleges and things, so I think we might be able to work around that piece. I don't know that we have to have that. What jumped out at me when they were talking is that it sounds like the process is different. Like, they don't maybe go through the whole opening a case in VR and everything. And that's why I'm interested to see, like, what did their regs say? Because we've always been told we had to do that. So let's see, how are they doing it? Is there a way that we can, you know, get around that, having to open a new case and make somebody eligible and blah, blah, blah. I was never aware of that before, so let's take a look and see what that looks like.
Okay. All right, well, we got a lot of stuff to think about. And then if we have time later, we can talk more about that. All right, we'll get into it. Third-party contract. Christie, we asked for this to be on. So we know who to vote.
Come on, Chrissy, don't be so excited.
Madam Chair, we've been talking about third-party contracts now for a couple years, and I want to talk today specifically, I know we're still trying to get a meeting with Max Pizza, Orville's working on that, so I'm not here to talk about Max Pizza. I'm here specifically to talk about Just Baked, and that's been going on since 2023. You know, it was talked about that the operators would go and talk to Just Baked and get into an agreement with them. Just Baked's a little different where there are some requirements that, you know, there's some, I don't even know all of the details about the requirements, but I don't feel that, you know, there has been no agreements right now. We are not providing good customer service and being responsive to the grantor. And so, and you know, Mary and Spencer just opened up, we're temping that right now. I tried in November to say we've got to make a decision. We keep on just kicking the can, and I really think that, you know, the landscape of these third-party contracts, it's just the tip of the iceberg. They're coming, they're not going away. There is a service that the university wants, and our decision is, are we providing it or are we passing on that opportunity? And I am suggesting that we pass on the Just Bake and tell the university that we are not interested in doing Just Bake. And then they can figure that out on their own.
Hi, Madam Chair.
Frank?
I know we've had operators try and reach out to Just Bake. I know Dave tried to get a hold of them. He actually talked to somebody, but the lady pretty much told him, we'll call you back when we feel like it, or we'll call you back, but it's not going to be anytime soon. So, you know, I don't consider that providing poor customer service to UC. I had asked that that information be communicated to UC, and I don't know if management did communicate that to UC or not. And we can't. I mean, I or Dave or Seth or Patrick, none of us can make these companies call us back at any specific time, or, you know, they're gonna, I guess they're big enough that they don't worry too much about making money or something. I don't know what their deal is there. If it were me, I would have, you know, if somebody was inquiring about vending, I would have called them back, or I would have had somebody with the state call them back to get more information. Anyway, and, yeah, so I don't know that that's I don't believe that. I don't think that's providing bad customer service, because they were trying. And it wasn't just Dave that said that. I was told the same thing by Patrick too, as well, who said, look, I talked to him a year ago. He said, but now I can't get anybody to answer their phone or return a phone call. So this company is, even if they do answer their phone, they're still not responding in an appropriate way. And I don't know if there's an alternative out there to Just Bake. I've asked that question before, to where maybe our vendors could get a hold of somebody and see if they wanted, you know, could provide a service that's equal to that. I don't know what's out there or what exists, but you know, and I will just say that, you know, UC's timelines are really weird. Sometimes they're hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, and then when did I understand correctly, in January it was supposed to be open, Mary and Spencer was supposed to be open at the beginning of January. We took equipment down there and the room wasn't ready. And I'm sure our program had to pay for that. You know, if UC didn't communicate with us, that's something that, you know, they should have communicated so that we didn't spend money and time on Schaefer. So there's some issues there, and I don't know how to resolve them. I think it's going to take all of us together to find a way to resolve. I guess I would call that a communications issue, probably on UC's end, not necessarily on ours. But there's some major problems there. So I don't have a solution, you know, one fix or one solution for every issue we have with the University of Cincinnati. The only thing I will say is we seem to have more problems there than we do across the rest of the state. I don't know why, but, and it's not, I don't believe it's on our vendors. I believe that it's just, there's so many people at UC, so many different people involved in these processes, that Nobody knows who's in charge of anything at any time. And that's a problem. Well, it's a problem for UC, but it's also a problem for us, all of us, management and this committee and the operators on campus.
Madam Chair.
Christie and then you.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, we do have another contact that Orville's been talking to, and that there has been confusion. And Mary and Spencer, there was issues on their part, there is. So going back to Just Bake. So maybe we email the University of Cincinnati and we say that I still cannot obligate an operator to do Just Bake.
No.
So I'm in a situation where we can put Just Bake on blast to UC saying Just Bake's not being responsive to our operators. But then once we get Just Bake to be responsive, I need a decision by the operators on whether they are a yay or a nay on providing Just Baked or a similar service. And we do have to keep up on that. And, you know, it wasn't asked, it's been 2 years now. They're like, we wanted these robotics machines and they're not present. And we're like, yeah, we'll get back to you, we'll get back to you, we'll get back to you. That's what they're hearing from us, we'll get back to you. So I just, I can get with Orville and we can tell them that, and put Just Bake and, maybe Just Bake and UC and say, you know, we've been trying to get this to work. We need your assistance.
Madam Chair.
Hold on, Frank, that was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Christie, thank you, Madam Chair. Christie, just, that's what my question was. Why can't we get UC, Just Bake, and even in a meeting together? Because obviously UC would have some kind of liaison with them. They're on their property. In order to force them to the table, in order to discuss what needs to be discussed. I think that actually that should have been something we should have tried to do a while ago. I mean, because, and we do need to come up with something. Is there are there other options besides Just Bake? But that's who the university wants. I think we do somewhat have to do that, but I think we need to get them to the table. And if UC is the vehicle to do that, then we need to reach out to them.
Frank?
Yeah, Madam Chair. Christie, the only thing I was going to say is maybe UC has a contact with Just Baked. I don't know if they do or not. If they do or don't, I don't know if they don't. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, or Madam Chair, they do not have a relationship with Just Baked at all. They haven't talked to Just Baked. They gave us the opportunity to go. Here's a list of people. You guys go. This is what we want. They've not talked to Just Baked. They don't have a relationship with Just Baked.
Okay. Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, this is Berta.
Yes, Berta.
Sorry, I don't want to cut someone off.
No, you're
but I
fine.
just- It's fine. I mean, we can try to get a meeting together with Just Baked and UC, if that's what and the operators that you want to do, that's fine. I guess my other question though is there's another issue here besides the timing and the length of time it's taken to get a decision. There's also the issue of there are fees that Just Bake says that they charge to anyone who's operating their machines, and we can't obligate an incoming operator to take those on. So what is the committee's feeling about that? If we do get them in a conversation and they say we won't negotiate on that, that's our policy, that's what we do, then what are your feelings about that?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Do we have is Just Bake's the only company that, have we approached UC? Have we looked into seeing some other company that's similar to Just Bake's that we could approach the university with if this company is not cooperating and the UC might be just as happy with? That, that's similar, to have these robotic type things. I know this is something new to the industry fairly, and there's not a lot out there, but have we looked into, say, hey, well, we can, you guys can go and we can get this company in?
Madam Chair.
Yes,
So I did talk with the VP, one of the VPs of Just Bake, and he has said that to get the machine is $500 a month plus a 5% rev share. And I did send him a follow-up email with what Pat has sent months ago about 30% of sales right off the top. I haven't got a response. Now, to Yvette's answer, UC is just like, okay, if you don't want Just Bake, what do you want? And I personally don't know how to respond to that.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Seth.
Max Pizza. They're already on campus. They already bake cookies and the things that Just Bake has. It's already being provided on campus.
Okay. Madam Chair, that could be a solution, and then, and if they're willing to work with our operators, instead of us passing on a good opportunity or something like that, why won't we explore that? And Just Bake, you know, they're not cooperative, because if they're not cooperating all this time, they're not probably going to be.
No, Madam Chair, with Max Pizza, we've been trying to get a hold of him. It's my understanding he wants to pull his machines out of UC. They're not making money. So I don't know if that's a viable option or not.
Well, I think what you started to say at the beginning, Chrissy, we can maybe do one last ditch effort if the folks are interested in talking to them, but it comes down to what you said. If our operators aren't wanting to do it, and we don't know if that's the case yet or not, but if they're not wanting to do it, then we pass on it until UC or other entities that this could happen to, where we are passing on this, and then they are able to move forward with it. And then they would have to pay all those fees and all of that, so. Yes, right.
Is Johnny Mack in here?
Yeah.
John, could you just real quickly tell us what do you have a Just Bake machine?
I'm having the same issue. We got the outlet installed. It did take a year. But I called them and they have not called me back.
Okay.
Told them we're ready to go. I told them we sold 500,000 items last year, trying to entice them. Still have not received a call back.
Well, it almost makes me wonder how well Just Baked is doing with
Oh,
their
yeah.
business plan if they're not returning calls. So it may be a non-issue if they're having business problems. And
Madam Chair.
yes, you bet.
Well, am I misunderstanding, because we keep saying the operators don't want to do it? Well, we had just one of the operators just say Max Pizza, and they're on there and all. So am I missing something? Are we, Frank, do you know if the operators are not willing to do it? Because it seems to me that each time you come to this meeting, you're basically saying, you know, that they do, they just haven't been approached with someone that's wanting to work with them.
Well, I'm getting the impression that they're not talking, that they've tried to reach out, and so they don't know if they want to do it or not, because they don't know the terms, because they can't get a hold of anybody at the company.
Right.
And now, John McNamara's having the exact same problem, so that's not a good, that's really concerning about either, Annette even just said, you know, either their businesses are doing well, or like I said, or they have so much business they don't care. I don't know which it is, but you think any company would want to continue to grow, but maybe I'm wrong.
Okay.
But I think that's what we should do, try and get the operators, if somebody with the state can get a hold of Just Baked and, you know, have a phone call and see where it goes, and if the operators want to do it, that's great. If Just Baked will respond, and,
We still need to.
what direction, you know, what direction everybody wants to go or needs to go.
Maybe UC.
Madam Chair?
Just a second, Berta. If UC gets a hold of them and puts Just Baked in, and they may be competition for Max Pizza, both of them may not do real well, and both of them be out of there in 2 months. So sometimes people's got to see about that it's not the business opportunity they think it is. You know, I've said all along that not COVID wasn't a good thing that happened to us, but the food trucks at the rest areas being allowed to go there was the best thing that happened. us because they saw it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. So sometimes you let them in and let them fail, and then they'll leave you alone. Berna?
Yeah, just another question for the group. So we attempt to get this call together with UC and Just Bake. If Just Bake is also not responsive to us, if you're finding they're not responsive to you, they're not responsive to us and UC, how long do you want to wait before we say, never mind, UC and Just Bake, we don't want to do Just Bake? How long do you want to give them for that?
Madam Chair.
Can we say, like,
Go ahead.
if they don't respond to us by the time we meet next month, that we're gonna formally say, never mind, let's forget about Just Bake? Are you comfortable with that?
Madam Chair, I'll go after Seth.
Okay, Seth?
I would be 100% against that. I would be against allowing a company to just not respond to us and force us into waiving our priority. I think that's the wrong step to take.
Yeah.
I think our operators are trying. Our operators want to do this. The other ones, I don't have a stake in this. I haven't been asked for any of my buildings. But if our operators, 2 on UC, Johnny Medicare, if they're wanting to do this, but the company's not calling us back, I don't see how we waive our priority because the company won't call us back. We tell UC, we're trying, they won't call us back. Yes, we want to do it, but if they don't call us back, we cannot force Just Bake to talk to us.
Madam
Yeah,
Chair, one of the issues is, if we passed on this, I just feel that we're opening ourselves up for all kind of, things to come in and compete against our operators on there, and then we'll be back at the table talking about that and having an issue with that. But if there's other options that can replace, and I know Christy said that we have to get with Max Pizza and whoever, but I think that, I know there's a rumor about whatever, but we need to get the facts on that to find out. Because I think if we walk away from that, we're opening ourselves up for some, other issues. And where it could really create some problems.
Well, I tend to, I agree with what Seth said. I don't like the notion of a company just being allowed to ignore us and then we go away. That's a bad precedent, and it's something that could spread, and they say, hey, if we don't respond to them, they'll just let us go in there, so that could be a problem. But I think if you have UC and tell them, look, we are trying to meet with them, we're trying to give you an answer, but this company isn't responding to us, let's be partners with UC over this thing. They're the ones with the vested interest in it. And if they see that nobody can get a hold of them, well, they may very much not want to deal with them either. Obviously, they have a customer service issue, and if they're not responsive to us and they're not responsive to UC in order to work with us or with UC, then it might just be a non-issue at that point. But I doubt UC would want to work with a company that's not responsive. There's going to be, refund deals and, maintenance and repair stuff. If they can't get a hold of them even to get them in there, why would you even want to work with them?
Madam Chair, I think 30 days. Her question is how long? I would think give them, if they haven't reached out within the 30 days, then, you tell UC we can't deal with that company's, you know what I mean? And we pursuing other things as far as, trying to replace they're still trying to fulfill the grantor's needs of what they want. But,
So try to get that, yes.
Is there any other options other than Max?
Yeah.
Madam Chair, sorry.
I'm sure.
Just like a basic Google search, and I'm looking right now, like I just put competitors of Just Baked, and they've got Farmer's Fridge, Bite Foods. A lot of these are West Coast, so I don't know par level systems, but that's Chobotics. That's a provider of salad preparation. Zook, Franchi, Now Cuisine, Fresh Vending, Basil Street Cafe. And then Just Baked is number 10 with the lowest rating, ironically.
Deserve it.
Okay.
And then I saw, which I'm kind of liking just because of the name, Sally the Salad Robot. But no, we will get a hold of UC, tell them that our issue is that Just Bake is non-responsive, and then we will shoot out again communications to Just Bake and try it again.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Keith?
thinking outside the box, area-wide, create machines to fit a need. I mean, where they can literally make it do whatever you want to do. I'm looking at one about selling laptops because it's a more percentage of profit. But I'm also thinking, why we can't ask them about making a bake machine and see what it would cost us for something so we could do it ourselves. Just thinking outside the box.
And Madam Chair, I hear you, Keith, and I like that idea. I just know that, like from what we even heard from Max Pizza, like one of those machines, I mean, they are, like, you're looking at $100,000.
Ooh. That would give me away.
Yeah.
However, it could be like, big screen TVs, again, it might be, the
Come down in
prices will
price.
go down.
Yeah.
So
I
we'll
think it will.
continue to look.
Madam,
Can we make sure that UC's copied on those communications, Christie? And, I mean, I'm hoping Just Bake responds, but if they don't, I want UC to see that as well.
but, Madam Chair, Christie, when we do that communication, can we put the deadline, we're giving you 30 days, not like, oh, can you please call us?
No.
Can we be forceful with Just Bakes and saying that we're gonna move on to another vendor if you don't respond within this amount of time? Because I think the niceties are over and they're putting our reputation at risk. So I think that we gotta, let them know that this is,
I would say all of that, except I wouldn't put a deadline, because you don't want them to wait the 30 days, on day 29 contacting us. We want them to contact us
Well-
immediately. So just, say something along the lines of, we need to hear from you immediately.
and then.
If you are interested in this, in this opportunity, we need to know it, or we need to move on.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
I think that we've had an open-ended no date, and it hasn't gotten us anywhere. That's why I said put a deadline on it, because right now, pretty much, they haven't responded to anyone or anybody, and it's been going over, a year, or whatever. It sounds like it's been going on for months. So if we don't try to do that, if we don't have a date, then we're setting ourselves up for the same result.
Madam Chair, one final thing, and I'll be quiet for this discussion.
Me too, Frank.
Christie, if you guys do, if they, I don't know, if they actually do set up a meeting, could we make sure John McNamara gets included in that call as well, even though he's not a UC operator? He's trying to reach out to Just Bake, so they have some business here if they want to take it,
Madam Chair,
Yes.
and I can do that, I can copy John in that. But my question is, after so many weeks, Just Bake doesn't respond, you see it's like, okay, they're not being responsive. What other company do you want? Do we tell UC to find the company that's similar to Just Bake? Or do we say, hey, try this company out?
I honestly think that we've been behind the 8 ball all along on all of these things, and that's what's gotten us into the problem. All along that we should be investigating, that our operators with the program should be investigating this stuff and being proactive instead of reactive when this stuff comes along. So I think it's worth looking into other and there may not be any, but
Madam Chair.
there might not be. Yeah, go ahead, John.
I would like a list of the other companies you read off earlier, because I would reach out to them now that I have both kind of outlets. I'm ready to get any kind of machine I can. I don't care who it is. I would be willing to talk to each of those companies and report back what they tell me.
Yeah.
How great would it be for one of our operators to say, look, we found this company, I talked to them, I think it's a good plan, and go to a UC or a post office or someone and say, I think this could be a really good fit for my business and for your population. And we'd like to talk to you about this. Instead of them coming and saying, we want this and forcing us into a hole.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I have another question. Christy, is it possible also that other states are using some of these companies on there, like Indiana, what we were just talking to him? Are they using any of these robotic companies at their universities? And who are they working with that's working with their operators? Is it possible we can ask that question to that director?
Madam Chair, like, again, we're universities. We are the, we're the explorers there. No other state has university coverage like we do, at all. Now, one of the other options that we can talk about is, again, it's not cheap, but it's cheaper than what we were talking, is to offer one of those smart coolers, and that they provide, I'm not going to say we will, that the university provides a microwave or a microwave or two, but those smart coolers we provide, again, our operators would still need to procure some of the stock and be very creative in procuring it. And, you know, we have storage issues, but that's another option. And that might be even a, that might be a quicker option, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
and we can suggest that to UC and say, you know, it could be another year or two for Just Bake, but we could do this, you know, relatively soon. And again, that does not obligate any operator. That's where I get very worried about, even if we get Just Baked in a room, it's up to the operator. And if the operator does not want to do it, that's when we have to say, they don't want to do Just Bake, so we're passing on Just Bake. It's the obligation of some of those fees and stuff that. So we will follow up and we will communicate with the full committee and everyone involved.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay, facility transition invoices. Yvette, you asked for this to be on the agenda?
Yes, I'm just saying that the committee voted to, and it was active under active participation, that the invoices that we receive from the Bureau be a separate email. And that's not happening. We got them under, changes happen, but it's under separate attachments. And I'm just wondering what's the rationale for that? Because any time that the committee voted and thought that this is the best practices, regardless of what we used to, what we're doing, changes were made, but not with the committee's suggestions. That's what's best for the operators. So I'm just wondering what's the rationale, why that wasn't fully implemented. Because I think it's important that when we're invoiced, regardless of what you're being invoiced for, that be in a separate invoice and it be titled an invoice.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Christie.
So we did make some changes to the letter and to make sure that both in that letter, it says how much inventory is due and set aside. Plus, we have separated it into 2 invoices attached to 1 email. The fear is that if you have 2 separate emails, that I'm gonna get into the same situation where an operator might say, oh, well, I didn't look to see if there was a second email, or I got the second one, but not the first one. And I just think that, I don't think it makes sense to have separate emails. But, you know, I think the committee needs to weigh in on that. I just fear that it would get lost under 2 separate emails.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I can't verbatim remember the steps we had agreed to take. But if a sighted person has an issue with communication, that's all we're asking for, is a simpler way for them to be able to receive the information that's being passed out.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
You know, under the support, which our program is supposed to train, support and all that, it is harder to navigate through attachment than just an email stating what it is. You do it, we're doing it in the opening, wherein we get our opening packet, and I understand closing and opening has some different, but it's still documents you're receiving. The opening lists what we're receiving in that PDF, and the invoice is invoiced to us separately. All we are saying is do the same. Now, Christy just admitted, we're putting what it is at the top of, we made some changes to it. But no one would be confused if you're looking at your email and you get your email for your documents and you have your email for your invoice. It's separated. It should be separated because an invoice is something we use for tax purposes and everything else. Trying to navigate attachments and stuff like that, that may be convenient for the staff, but it's not convenient for a blind person. And most blind people in this program, comes in this program who has vision, is transitioning from having vision. Some people's vision has changed since they've been in this program. And they're not only navigating, learning the JAWS and all the other options out there, they're navigating a lot. Just for owning a business and all that. Why wouldn't we make this easier? I mean, from the time I've gotten into this program up until now, this whole computer thing and all this kind of stuff, we're trying to get better. And we don't have training for all of this stuff. We have to get our training outside of it, and we're still making changes. Look at what sales tax, they just updated that. That threw everybody for a loop as far as trying to navigate that. So why wouldn't the agency that's supposed to support and train, that's part of the support.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I'm gonna comment real quick, and then Christine and stuff. I'm gonna say, can we see, I'd like to see a sample of what you're sending out now, the change. And just see kind of what it looks like, and see, you can block out names or whatever, if I know that they're public records, but.
I can forward it to you.
Just see what it looks like, what you're doing now. Not what you did before, but with the changes that you made.
Yeah.
Christy?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I hear you, Beth, I do. I just don't know if the 70 operators would agree with her, and if that's how she would like to preferred. I just don't know if that makes sense, and you guys all need to weigh in, and I think I can send out what it looks like, but I don't want to make a wholesale change based off of one or two people's experience, because that could throw other people off of what we've historically done.
Madam Chair.
Hold on. Seth, what's next?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick suggestion. As for the separated emails, and I understand what you're saying, if you get, Pepsi sends me 5 reminders and I get 1 notification, could IT make up a business enterprise inventory invoice, business enterprise set aside invoice as an email address, and then they would come as separate?
Look at it. Keith?
Again.
Oh, did you say Dean?
No, Keith.
Oh.
Keith
Go ahead,
Dean.
Dean. You can do Dean first.
Okay, go ahead, Dean.
Alrighty, I just gotta say, I have a big complaint with the communication with this whole program now. I mean, the fact that Yvette didn't get a simple phone call to say, hey, by the way, there's an invoice in this pile of junk we sent you. It would have been so helpful. The communication in this program now is horrible, especially for the people that use voiceover. It's something that we're not all professionals at, and we can't navigate all this garbage that's sent to us all the time when there's all these attachments, and then especially when there's all these people that it's going to also, and they reply. It's a nightmare. And the fact that the administration just thinks everybody gets it, we don't. Trust me, I hear from operators all the time that just are so confused, they delete it. Mm-hmm. And it's terrible. We need to get back to accommodating the blind, because we are not all technology people. Mm-hmm. And that's my point.
Keith, did you still have?
Yes, I have 2 points. The first one is, and I've used this before and I'm gonna say it again. We all, when we communicate with BE staff, they send you a email saying, via our conversation, blah, 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 separately. That's one part. The other part is, I think it's kind of unfair that you try to speak for 70 other people and you're only one person. That's not, we are a committee representing them 70 people.
Yes.
So that was to me, unprofessional. That's all I got.
Madam Chair, if you guys want a motion to send them separately.
We did.
Please
We did.
motion that, and I will send them separately.
Madam Chair,
We did.
we voted on that.
As secretary, I say we did.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, I will send them separately.
Yeah.
But if I get a grievance that they're now sent separately, what am I going to do?
Madam Chair, what are the issues?
Hold on, Yvette, Frank first, and then.
Send them separately.
Christie, I think all we need to do is make sure if we send them separately, that in the subject line, it says invoice.
Okay.
I think every operator would understand that. Oh, I owe money.
Yes. Madam Chair, the other issue is, Christie, that would be nice, just like we email any other, why can't we email, a simple email, this is what we're doing now, all operators be aware of whatever their form of communication, send that update, because that's something that we all don't get on some things as well. This is what the changes are, because you all say, oh, well, we should automatically know, should have known this is the way. Since I've been in this program, we have not always done it this way. We used to didn't even do it. We used to do it this stuff by hand and run to the post office. So over the years, a lot of this stuff has changed, but you all assume that every operator should be aware of how you do that. I was at a location for 17 years. I didn't do this closing, blah, blah, blah. So we wouldn't know this. So it would make sense for you all to send an email to let everybody know in their form of, this is the change we're making. This is, all invoices will be sent in a separate email or attachment or whatever form of their form of communication.
Okay. No matter what, there's always gonna be somebody that doesn't like the way it's done. But it's up to the committee to determine what we think, at least the majority of what the best thing for the overall body of the operators are, and the committee made the motion last time to do that, so let's just do it.
And one more thing,
Okay.
Madam Chair. Forgive the penalty. Y'all made a motion, the committee voted on it.
Sure. Madam Chair, can I address it? And I think that that's part of the issue too, that I wholesale did not recommend the motion. And Yvette, I understand you're upset, I do. But I also, again, had people, committee members that voted yes unanimously, but then said, you can't forgive that because it's against the rules. So I have to follow the rules, and I have to follow the rules. And again, Seth, I don't know who told me, but I heard it from multiple people. I have to follow the rules, and this is in a litigation thing right now, and you know, a hearing officer might say, you were wrong, Christie, and that's the process too. But I've taken the thing back where I agree, we will get out communication on the process changing, and it will be separate emails. There might be multiple now because of the different packets, but that's okay. I'll work with staff, we will get this out, it'll be separate emails.
Okay. All right, one more comment?
Haven't the committee voted to forgive penalties before? And I'm not saying necessarily with Christie or with other programs.
Yes.
Sometimes they're forgiven, sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
But I don't know how it would be against the rule to forgive a penalty. I'm not sure that I'm clear on that or where that came from, but, you know, that's all I got.
Madam Chair, I really think that it's not in the rules. If we want to put it in the rules that OVRC has an ability to forgive penalties by motion, I'm all for that. I really am, I'm all for that. But right now, you know, I gotta treat everyone by the same rules. And my fear, and it's not just one, I have two now on late penalties, is that if I forgive a penalty here and there, and that affects the selection down the road, I'm open and mitigating to people saying, well, wait, I didn't get that because you forgave someone's penalty because of, you know, whatever reason. So that's why.
This one is being
Litigated.
and it is going through the grievance process,
Yep.
so. See how that goes. All right, the period of time in a permanent facility before someone's allowed to bid. John, you asked for this?
No, well, I just.
Oh, well, your
I did
name
ask
is
you,
attached
that's
to
not
it.
exactly, the wording's bad.
Okay, I didn't.
I just want to make everyone aware of a situation we have in Cleveland right now. We have an operator, Augusta Jackson, up there. Dave Pageant moved on to Athens, so attempt the federal building, we put it out for bid. AJ was temping the other half that was added to it. He bid on it and won it, no problem. Then we had the 1 month later, the I-90 Kennelly's came out that Tom Neal had. AJ bid on those and won those. So we had, after only being at the thing a month, he was giving that up, going to the Kennelly. Well, then we put the federal building back out for bid. AJ bid back into the federal building. And basically, he's ping-ponging back and forth, and he's keeping two brand-new operators that he can beat in the selection committee out of a job. And he's not doing anything against the rules. But we used to have a rule, if you've got a facility, you couldn't bid again for 6 months. And I understand why that was taken out.
Yeah.
If, you know, the giant big stand came up a month after you got a new one, you didn't have a chance at it. But we may want to consider that you cannot bid on a stand that you are voluntarily giving up. Now, now we have the highways back out. If he bids on those again, just ping-ponging back, and he never has to do a transition inventory because he's temping one and the other one's is permanent. They just keep switching agreements.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
being unfamiliar with this, is there a logical reason why, I mean,
He wants to run them both.
Okay, just.
It's how he's keeping both of them.
Okay, so it's just not because the rest areas didn't open on time or anything like that?
He ran the rest area for 30 days. Every month, we had out in September, we bid out the federal building. October, we bid out the Kennelly. November, we bid out the federal building again. And now we have the Kennelly back out again.
Well, first of all, he went back once. I think it's a little premature because, and now if he bids again on the rest area, then we know what you're saying is true. He may just had buyer's remorse.
I'm just making you aware of the
Yes.
situation, what's going on. Like I said, he hasn't done anything against the rules.
Right. One time I think is, okay, because maybe he got there and said, gee, I don't like this, and his old place that he liked better came back out, and maybe now if he starts, the easiest way to do that is don't make him the temp then. Put someone else in there. So if we thought that was going on. I think one time bidding back, even though it's probably a royal pain for the Bureau folks to do all these transitions.
Madam Chair, he was only in the federal building for 30 days before he got on the highway.
Right, I understand.
He worked both places for 30 days. He has no idea what
I agree,
the business is or anything like that yet.
Let's just see what happens.
Yeah, that's why I just wanted to bring
Okay.
people's attention, what's going on. I have no action.
Okay.
Just making
Madam
you
Chair.
aware of the situation.
Yes,
Dean.
Dean?
Just want to ask John, so he did have competition against him when he bid or not?
Yeah,
Okay.
the new people that just got licensed in Cleveland.
Oh,
But
I
he
see.
easily
I
beats them.
see. Yeah, okay.
They have no chance against him.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Schaefer. Yeah. I actually asked for this, so we know who to blame. So, I put it on here because a lot of us know about, well, there's all kinds of issues. We just want an update on we've talked before about when we had a lot of vandalism at a facility in Toledo, the timeliness of getting it fixed. We want to make sure that Schaefer is holding up their end of the agreement. Right now, we're hearing a lot of things, and not just from there, that it's taking a long time for Schaefer to fill service calls. And I know they're shorthanded. I know they had, they lost Jim, and then of course the big blow, they lost Bobby to retiring and all that. But that's sadly enough not our problem. we have machines that need fixed. They're contracted to fix them. So where are we? I know Christy, you've talked about going to them and all that, and we do this every year or so. We have to run to Schaefer and tell them you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. But what's happened since our last meeting?
Sure, Madam Chair. So we started this January, so it's literally been 2 calls so far. Every Wednesday, we have what they call the State of the Union meeting.
State of the Union?
Half an hour. And what originally was set up was it was going to be like every other week. Like 1 week it was going to be Orville and his consultants, and the next week it was going to be Sally and her consultants on the call with Schaefer. And that hasn't actually worked out where it's been everyone. Everyone gets on the phone. They talk about the next week's schedule. They talk about what issues. I hope that this is going, and we're staying up with it's every Wednesday. And again, there's only been 2 meetings, but that you will see an improvement of this, and that I actually attended for the first time this week's call. I don't plan on attending them all, but like I one of the consultants says, "Hey, what about this one?" Oh yeah, and then like any issues. There's still issues. Like I just heard an issue this week where they went to Wright Pat and they didn't bring a stair climber because apparently only 2 people know how to use the stair climber. And of course, my response to that is, was it on the original ticket? Did we screw up? Because we got to make sure that our documentation and our asks are very specific. And they were. And so, and then we should not pay for the trip back. And we should not, we got to make sure about that as well. So we are on it. We really are. And the constant communication and our consultants really, they're on the phone saying, hey, what about this? Or we need to, reschedule this, or this doesn't work, or I need to talk to the operator before we go forward, or what happened to this service call, or this has been on the books since October, why? Okay, we're still waiting for a part, or no, the part's in, is it being prepped? So that communication, because prior to it, it was supposed to be via communication and their teams, and there was no follow-up. Now, I agree with you in that where, there's issues, it gets better, and then it falls off, and we can't let it fall off anymore. We have to constantly be on that. Yes, Frank.
And the other issue they have, Christy, and I know we don't have control over this, but I honestly believe they need to hire another service tech. I think that will help them a lot if they can get one hired, because as I understood it, Jim was pretty much Columbus, and Cameron was handling Cincinnati and Dayton, and then I guess we had Norm up north. So right now I think they've got Cameron handling Cincinnati, Dayton, Columbus, and I guess anywhere else they need to send him. So, I know we can't really tell them who to hire or when to hire, but it would just be interesting to see if they have any plan to hire an additional service tech. I don't know if they'll tell us or not.
Oracle?
You go ahead.
Schaefer, they did have a couple moves. They moved Sam, who was the driver, over to the tech side, and they did bring in a couple extra drivers. Unfortunately, they backed out. So Schaefer they're doing some things.
Christy, what time's your calls on Wednesdays? Is it a set time?
Yes.
I'm wondering if we should have an OVRC person on there. like a liaison type person as well.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I have a question. What happened to, because sometimes we get into situations where we want to, study calling a service call, we have an issue with a machine and we want to call Schaefer's to talk to a tech or talk to someone. Do they not have anyone? I used to be able to just talk to whoever was in the office or whatever, because it's hard to, you're waiting on the tech to call you back while you're at the location, because they'll say, oh, such and such will call you back. Well, a lot of times we don't get that call back while we're waiting there. So does Schaefer's not have someone that we could call, during the business hours when we're at a location to talk us through an issue, or we got a code on a machine or something? Because I've had that experience when we're trying to work out something and fix the problem before we put a service call in, but when there's nobody to talk to.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, Madam.
The shorthanded to this, I'm guessing that's.
But I was just wondering if there's someone available that's there at Schaefer's that, working in the inside that we, I think I've even had Delane or somebody on the phone before, but I don't know who all's there now.
Madam Chair?
I think Keith.
Go ahead, Keith.
first and-
No, that wasn't.
Oh, I thought you said something.
I did.
Okay, go ahead.
Again, 2 points. The first one is, I want to employ each and every one of y'all, when they do come out to do service calls, try to learn the procedure that's being done. If you can, ask them, show you, put my hand on them so I can feel it, whatever the need is, you know what I'm saying? Because that helps us help the program. The other point is, and I always say stuff that I shouldn't say, but I'm gonna say it anyway.
We appreciate you.
The money on time, they get their money on time, don't they? So we need to use that as a leverage. Y'all want your money on time, I mean, however you have to say it, but they want to be paid on time. We just need these things done on time, that's all. That's not an unreasonable request, I don't believe.
Madam Chair, I agree.
Hold on, Christie.
Oh,
Dean
sorry.
First.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to bring up, because I hear this a lot from some of my operators in Akron Canton, is why can't we get back using somebody like A&A Bending like we did in the past, that's right there in Akron, and the other one that's, I forget where it was, Cincinnati maybe, Dayton?
Almost Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's it. Why can't we get them involved when Schaefer is just not able to handle something, can't get a part, can't get there on time, and you got your number one machine that's flat down and you're losing money, big money? Why can't we get them involved again in situations like Schaefer's not handling?
Absolutely agree. Christie?
Yeah, Madam Chair, it's a DAS contract. It had to service all 88 counties. However, when it's up, I think we need to have those conversations.
Yes.
And maybe we do regional contracts again. Area-wide refuses to go beyond Cincinnati and Dayton. And so we just need to make sure that we have every area covered. And I don't, again, contract's not my wheelhouse, but we can absolutely have those conversations.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I know when I was,
I'm sorry, hold on a second.
No,
Were you
go,
done?
Frank.
Go ahead, Frank.
I know when I was in Akron, Christie, my PD specialist at the time, as they were called, she would try and use A&A Vending, but if they would come once or twice and couldn't get something fixed, she's like, okay, we're calling Schaefer now.
Right.
Then they would call Schaefer out and get them to fix it. They tried to go with a cheaper company first, and if they couldn't get it done. And then now I don't know what the mileage is, Schaefer compared to area-wide nowadays, but years ago, area-wide was about a quarter. I think back then they were a quarter cheaper per mile than Schaefer was. So there was reasons for doing things like that. I don't know if they're all about the same now or whatever. The only point I was making there is even if you have those companies in place, there will still be a need for Schaefer at times. And there will be a need for area-wide or A&A. And that would, I think that would speed stuff up if we have more than one company available across the state or regional areas that can kind of expedite repairs and things like that.
Okay.
Madam Chair, we'll definitely look into it. Right now, I'm bound by just using Schaefer, unfortunately, but we will look into it. And then just like one little fluke of a story, just even when we have everything right and we're on board, Orville had a situation where, I think it was the State House, we're putting a new machine. Well, the manufacturer changed it where you can't take off the legs, so it wouldn't fit, so. Before we could take the legs off, so now we have to go back, and so even when everything we think we have it right, you get a fluke like that.
Okay.
That's what they're hired to do, so they should have been aware that could have happened. So, there we go. But I do want to see about getting somebody from the committee on the call with you, and I'd like to work on that and have somebody on there as well. Maybe they alternate, maybe we'll get somebody from
Each area.
Orville land, 1 week and Sally land the other week, but, when they're doing that, but I'm not gonna pick you one or do something today, but maybe we can do that. What time is the calls?
It's 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, okay.
Again, Madam Chair, I gotta come back and see, I'd rather have Schaefer come to one of these meetings and have you guys talk. I really would. If there's global issues there, that call, again, is 30 minutes. It's of exactly who's going where, when, what, how. I think it would make more sense for Schaefer to come to an OVRC meeting.
Well, we can try that, but if we don't see, anything fixing, then I'd still like someone on the calls.
Madam Chair.
What's going on? Yvette?
Again, I want to know, Christie, that we are asking, is there a dedicated, someone there, I shouldn't say dedicated, whatever, a person there that stays there in the office, because their technicians are busy, so I understand why they can't always call us back when we have a question or whatever, but is there someone there that's qualified that can answer questions when we call to find out about, an issue? I can see it going to the tech if they can't answer a question, but can you guys find out if there's someone there that we can ask for? Or that Tiffany can be aware of when we're trying to ask a question to try to repair our own machine?
Yes. I'll ask.
Because these computers are getting more, tech savvy, all these boards and all this kind of stuff is stuff that we haven't seen on our new machines and issues and codes, and we need to know what it means in order to even put a proper service call.
Yes.
Seth?
Madam Chair, thank you. I was just wondering if, after these calls, could we start sending out if somebody's on a schedule? Just so we know if, like, Cameron's coming on Tuesday, but Cameron has this area, this area, and this area, so you're probably gonna be late in the day on Tuesday as opposed to early. Something along those lines. 'Cause I'm like an hour, 20 minutes from UC, so I can't just show up on a dime when they show up.
Madam Chair, it's my understanding, Seth, that this has already been communicated with you guys, that this is follow-up, already been communicated, already been set. If there are changes, 1,000% you guys should be aware of this. But this isn't new stuff, that this has been on the calendar. Correct me if I'm wrong, you've been on 2 of those calls, so please fill in. But is that?
No, you're right. Madam Chair, they normally on a call, they just talk about what's happening as far as moves. If they gotta move machines and stuff like that. Madam Chair, I'm not sure if Seth is talking more about service calls, and if the tech is reaching out to the operator or not, letting them know that they're on their way or that they left their facility or not. But that's something we can talk with Schaefer about.
I will say, moves, yes, usually we know ahead of time, and that's usually scheduled. Service calls are not. We're not told, that a lot of times we'll get calls saying we're on the way or we're there or something, but unless they have to actually meet the operator because they don't have a key, They usually don't tell us when they're gonna come.
Madam Chair.
Yes, yes.
Just to clarify, I just went through the UC replacing all the card readers. And,
Sorry, what did you say, sir?
Just like, I just had all the card readers replaced at UC, where it took, he was there multiple days. Those are kind of things, I understand an emergency repair, they're not gonna schedule in advance, but I had the schedule for the, kept getting pushed off and things like that. I can't do it today because I have this emergency, that kind of.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Keith.
on a positive note, when my specialist makes a service call for me, I also get a text or an email saying this was put in for such and such and such. It don't give me an exact date, but it gives me a heads up that we're on. I think that's what you're looking for, Sally.
All right.
I mean, excuse me.
Madam Chair,
Christie,
usually,
I'm sorry.
yeah, usually, because Schaefer's don't have my keys, any keys to my machine, so Tiffany will give me a call, and I will let the, Tiffany know what would be the best days, so sometimes, you know, when I'm gonna be out at my location, the day, you know, and then they try to work within that, with that time. Tiffany will give me a call when they get it, a schedule ready, and we go from there. And then after that, I get a call from the tech. If we're running late or you're running late, we, you know, just text back and forth or whatever,
Right.
so.
Okay. All right, well, we'll keep up on that. Oh, this is a fun one. Statewide. After all the, statewide school.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So we are going to be doing a conference at Deer Creek this year. So the contract has been signed on our end. It is now waiting for Deer Creek to get it. They just sent it out yesterday to them. So hopefully we get it next week. So me and Annette had a call about things that we are wanting to see. I sent out that survey a while ago, and so I know some people agreed on some things, and some things it was split 50-50 right down the middle of what people want. So some of the things we talked about was active shooter. I have reached out to several places. A lot of places only want to do 4 hours. I talked to someone yesterday that said that most of the time it's the police department in the jurisdiction, but they typically want to do it for the building that you're in. So that's where we're gonna have trouble, because obviously you guys have a lot of different types of buildings. So I don't know exactly how to go about doing an active shooter training, especially there. Maybe if you wanna do something, we just do it here. We can go to different places throughout Ohio, and I can get with people in those jurisdictions to do something. I just don't know that it's going to be feasible to do it statewide. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Did you call the guy in Nashville?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
get an idea, okay.
It was
$8,500.
Well, no, I meant, not for him.
That was
Not
for
for
an
him,
hour,
but I was.
An hour and a half.
Yeah.
$8,500.
I was hoping that he might have had a contact of somebody.
I should have paid attention more for that.
But yeah, I've talked to a lot of different,
Okay.
different police departments in the area, and yeah, they all want typically 4 hours. Even the 1.5 hours that, when I talked to the people from class, they said 1.5 hours really doesn't do a lot. You know, because they want to get super in depth, make sure everyone is good. So I mean, the fact that it does need to be in the building, I get, and I think we kind of just want the basics, but I don't think that that's something anyone's willing to do. So, do you guys want me to try and come up with active shooter in each region?
Or maybe by facility type? Would that make more sense? I don't know, because if it's not in your actual building, even by region, I'm thinking, because some of our post offices are different rest areas than office buildings.
Colleges.
college, they're all,
medical building.
yeah.
Madam Chair, I think what we need is we need like a generic, high-level type thing, not so specific.
That, like the guy did it, yeah,
No.
but 8,500.
Yeah.
Yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes, you're back.
That is true that each facility, because if you're on the military base, like at DSCC, we had to do, and it was pretty much, you had to take a test, and everybody had, all my employees, myself, we all had to go through it. It was a questionnaire. They tell you how to react in different situations, and then they gave you like a little quiz at the end of each part of it. It was kind of lengthy, and we all had to do it in order to be on the base. But I think that, I don't know, have we checked something local to find out if, since the operators are wanting someone local to, I'm sure they probably have a company local that would be able to satisfy that, especially, you know, in the state in which we live these days.
Yeah, Madam Chair. So it does, the person I spoke to yesterday was a sheriff for whatever county. I can't think of it right now. But he is the sheriff down in Mount Sterling. And so
Madison.
he said that from his understanding, most companies are supposed to have some sort of active shooter training just in general. So I'm wondering if maybe if we have people talk to grantors to see if that is something that the employees get, because you guys should be able to get that as well. So like colleges, medical buildings, I would say at least should do that. So I don't know if that's something maybe you guys want me to look into to see if.
I would think look into it. I don't know if that's gonna be feasible. It would be nice, and I know we can't find someone to do basic active shooting. It would be really cool if we could find someone who could speak to people who are blind.
Yeah.
And give us some ideas. That'd be, maybe I'll look into that too and see if there's somebody that NFB might do something too. We'll try. I don't know if we'll succeed, but we'll try.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just a thought. Again, people from Indiana, ask them how they do it.
You may have never had a training. We could ask around and see if other states know of anybody. Lindsay, did you have more for,
Madam Chair? Oh, yeah, so I'll send out a save the date. And some people have said that transportation might be an issue. I know, and me and you talked about charters, and they were very unhelpful when I talked to them. So I don't think Buckeye Charters is gonna be an option. But I know some people have said they're willing to carpool, so maybe when I send out, save the date, I'll put something on there, if transportation's gonna be an issue, let me know, and maybe we can try and figure something out. I don't know how many people that's gonna be an issue for. I know Julie Russell and Lisa Litzinger said that they are totally willing to bring other people down. Lisa Litzinger told me Yvette possibly would have room in her car as well. So maybe if some people are able to just bring other people. But yeah, we can see if we can get some kind of like carpool thing set up. Yeah, but so I mean, that's all stuff that we can talk about, but I will mention that in the save the date as well, so I'll get that out on Tuesday. And then I'll just keep everyone updated to see, make sure everything's going good with the contract. We're going to provide box lunch, so that's good. And then Annette and I talked about maybe doing the awards during lunch so that we can kind of work through stuff at that point. Do like a luncheon award, I don't know. But yeah, if you guys have any recommendations, please let me know. Hopefully we can start doing.
The other thing I'd ask you about was especially the breakfast.
Yeah.
Because they, on their website, they say breakfast is served at like 8,
Yeah.
and we start at 8:30, so there's no time for operators to go to breakfast. So did you talk to them about that?
So they do have that donuts and coffee. So that's just something that we're,
Okay.
so I'm assuming the contract that we have right now is just for the room.
Okay.
So the lunch contract will be something else. So we will just figure out which one we want to do. If we want to do donuts and coffee, just have coffee. But yeah, I can look into more of that as well.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Frank.
does this place have a restaurant where you can go buy breakfast, hot breakfast, or go buy lunch if you would like?
Yes, but, Madam Chair, sorry.
Yes.
Annette said that it opens at 8:30. And so we usually start around that time. Yeah.
But there is a restaurant there for like dinner and stuff too, and lunch and,
Madam Chair,
yeah.
I had asked about being on the committee, and I haven't heard anything about these things to participate.
Yeah, Chief, we don't have a committee. I just called Lindsay on my own and gave her some, and we just kind of had a brainstorming session, and anybody can do that. That's not anything for me, I don't know. And if you have ideas or brainstorm, right now, we don't have we're not working with work groups or committees or
Okay, thank
anything
you.
like that.
Thank you, because I was like, damn, I missed it.
I didn't forget about you.
No, this was just me calling and saying, hey, Lindsay, what's up? So, talking about statewide.
Okay.
Okay, and it is that first weekend in May.
Yes.
Okay.
May
Okay.
2nd, 3rd.
I want a cabin. I think that's so cool, we're gonna do this at a state. Okay, anyone else have any questions or thoughts on statewide? Oh, I had a question. Christie or Lindsay, there was some talk about the people in the Columbus area or about the mileage. I remember the folks in, because everyone's gonna have to stay there for the most part, because of the transportation issues. It's not like downtown Columbus where those of us who live here could easily go back and forth.
Right.
So did that get worked out where everyone's going to be able to be covered, or?
I think it's 30 miles instead of 45. I think it's 30 miles.
Yeah.
Okay,
30 miles.
30
So-
probably
30 is, so
captures pretty much it.
when we thought it was 45, I looked it up and my house is 44 miles away. So no matter what route I took, that was the longest one. So I was like, well, I guess I won't be staying. But yeah, it is 30. We looked at the policy and for conferences, it is 30 miles.
Okay.
So
That probably does capture, there might be somebody to fall into the cracks if they live in that
yeah.
vicinity. I don't know if we have operators there, but that probably that would catch most of the Columbus folks from there, so. And obviously Dayton, Cincinnati, but we have someone that lives down there in the boonies, we might get somebody who doesn't get covered. And then you do cover for drivers.
Yes.
Okay, provide a room.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we get ballots?
Do we get?
I just threw it out there. No?
You can write it off as a business expense though on your MOR.
On your right.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Madam Chair, I
Yes.
might have missed it, but did they work out how some of the other operators were going to get to? I
Yeah,
know
Lindsay said you were taking them.
Okay, Mike.
They did mention y'all.
Madam Chair,
He make a good cab driver.
Lisa Litzinger said that you and her talked and you would be, maybe be willing to carpool.
Uh-huh.
Lisa Litzinger said that she would carpool. Russell said that they have
Yeah.
someone. So I'm gonna send out a save the date on Tuesday. And then I'm just gonna, if you're,
Okay.
think you might have issues with travel, let me know, and then we'll try and figure out something.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Anything else on statewide? All right. DSCC Building 21 cafeteria request.
Madam Chair, that's me.
Yep.
Building 21, where the vet used to be in, pre-COVID, they have now requested a cafeteria. They need a decision by the end of January. We have talked to the current operator who's not interested. She's the one that has a micro market right now.
Okay.
You know, our goal, our number one goal is to preserve that micro market, be able to share that space with that micro market. My question to the committee is for the actual cafeteria, and again, I don't know to what Annette said earlier, I don't know if it's gonna work, if it's gonna be successful. I know that they want a cafeteria with similar offerings that Yvette did. And it is a big space, right, Yvette? It's a big space.
It
but
is.
I just don't know if that's something that, as a program, we're interested in someone running a 5-day operation again.
Madam
Yeah,
Chair.
Yvette, do you want to run this?
No. But what I would like to know though is the current, I know you said she's not interested. When you say shared space, you're saying that they bring in a commercial company and she tries to have her micro market there at the same time? Is that what you mean?
So, Madam Chair, I don't know if the micro market can stay in the exact same space right there because, how do you distinguish between the two?
Yes.
But that cafeteria space is pretty big. Also, we had talked about, it's my understanding, and you know this better than anyone, Yvette, there was like a room off of the cafeteria that maybe the micro market could be in there. We definitely want to preserve that micro market.
Okay.
Because again, I don't know if this open food thing's going to be successful. Maybe not.
Never happened.
We're asking for population numbers.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, all these buildings, whether it's successful or not, they're all starting to ask, whether it's federal, state, they're asking for more and more. There's more and more pressure for people to come back to work.
Right.
And people are wanting to provide, it's a culture thing, provide hot food for their employees, sometimes with no regard of whether it makes any sense at all. But we've got to figure out and say, yeah, we want in on this is an opportunity, or no, we're going to pass, but we don't impede on what we have, and we're going to focus on the micro markets and the micro markets, the vending.
Madam Chair. Yes. This is the issue that, and I understand that this is the only, before we keep changing and doing all, we have to get a permit. We have to get something to where we don't keep being tossed out of our space at this location. We don't have any recourse. You put, especially as far as that micro market, you have to be, that's prime real estate. Again, what we talked about in Building 20, it's the same thing in 21. You don't want, first of all, they have remodeled that whole where the store used to be, the C-store, there's no longer. They made it a break room, they did their own thing. So we don't currently have a home besides where you are right now. I don't know anything about a room next door, but staying on the first floor is key. But I believe that we're gonna have an issue competing. The business will not be the same because a lot of times when they let these companies come in, they start competing with our operators, selling the same stuff, doing the same. And so you're gonna have an issue with sales dropping in your micro market, but it's important for that micro market to be on the first floor. But I think that if we don't get some kind of permit or get something in writing to, yeah, and then they got the food trucks coming on there as well. I mean, I think this is gonna be a problem, but, what's the population now from pre-COVID? Because I do talk to some of the people still working in that building. They're coming in, now if the government comes down and makes them, these telework people come to work, which I heard that they're gonna make them come in more often. Telework is still a big issue, where some people only coming in once or twice a week. And so, will it support a full, they don't care about that. They want what they want, you know. And it's hard for us to fight against it since we don't have a permit.
I agree with Yvette, and I know you guys have always said you can't force them to sign something. Well, you can't. You arbitrate.
Yes.
They are obligated to sign a permit with us for these places. Now, that doesn't necessarily solve the issue today, but it does, afford us some, some security there a little bit, and they're supposed to do it. They're breaking the law by not doing it. Now, as far as this issue today goes, I was always under the impression we just say no to them.
Yeah, I would say no.
That we're not gonna run it, and we don't believe they should have anyone. That went on deaf ears when it came to the other building. You guys just let them come in and do it to the harm of our operator there. And I'm worried that's what's gonna happen here too.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I think to keep the micro market there, to stay there, we have to go through arbitration or do whatever we need to do to stay there, because that building is smaller population, it's not as much as building 20, but I think that it's important that we fight for the space. Because I don't think, the cafeteria is big, but it's made different, then there's no way she could run her business and have this other business and be profitable and not have a bunch of issues. But I think that if that's what we have to do to block them from being able to bring another company in, it is what it is.
Madam.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll let Christie.
All right, Christie. So, a lot of thoughts. My main thought is that they've come to us, do we want to run a cafeteria? And so our answer is no, but you can't run a cafeteria and you can't go elsewhere. And I don't know what standing in law we have for that. As for the permit, you're absolutely right, and we've been asking them for a permit for years, and we should put pressure on the permit. But even if you have a permit, anyone can cancel that permit. It doesn't guarantee forever, but we still need to pursue that permit. But right now, the answer is, they've come to us, do you want to run open food with these opportunities? That's the ask, and our response is no, but you can't have anyone else do it. And I just don't know, we can take them to arbitration, but the question's gonna be, what standing do we have to take them to arbitration? Like, we can't, they're doing what they're obligated by the law, which is bringing the opportunity to us. The best thing we do is we run it. That's the easiest thing, but no one wants to run it, and I don't know, you have, right, you are 100% correct. We need to ask about the population, and I do hear varying things. In one breath, I hear someone say, there's no one in that building, and then the next time I hear, the parking lot is so full, it takes a half a mile to get to the building. I'm like, well, which one is it? I hear these varying things. So I just don't know where in law we have standing to say, you can't, we refuse to do it, but you can't go and do it yourself.
Madam Chair.
Frank had.
That's what I was going to ask, Madam Chair, was we already have a micro market there. Are we providing some food that can be, I don't know what all a micro market allows you to do, but are we providing like frozen type foods that allows them to cook stuff in microwaves that gives them some hot food? I know what they want. They want a full service cafeteria with stuff cooked on demand, but we said this before with the cost of food prices today and what our operator is going to have to charge, they're going to have to fit.
But Madam Chair?
Yes.
Where you made your most money is in the mornings Because once those food trucks come on there and do all that, and if the population is even less, so we made it work because, before pre-pandemic, but, after the pandemic, you're dealing with probably even less people there and, and all the other issues. I don't know what's the mitigating issue, but the morning time would be, if you're gonna do some hot food, it would be that the time to make the money and let them do whatever they're gonna do for lunch. Because, you have a lot of competing factors at lunchtime, and with the food trucks and all that kind of stuff. But I think the issue, regardless of whatever it is, we have to start with, if we don't have a permit or whatever, they can do whatever they want to do.
Thank you. Madam Chair, why can't we do like something like Lenny's got down there? Let them put the bill, and we'll run it.
Now, that's an option.
Madam Chair, Lenny's troop dining, that is a different ballgame. That is a different ballgame. However, we have talked about, because there was equipment in there that they provided, and that was one of our asks, and we have asked some follow-up questions, one being, will you provide the equipment? We have followed up. We've not received the answer yet to that. But we did have some follow-up questions that we're still trying to get an answer for.
Well, Madam Chair, when I left there, they remodeled that whole cafeteria, and they were willing to provide me whatever equipment we needed, even if the state wasn't going to replace it. They were. I don't know what the issue is these days, but I just think that the number one question is what, the population. But if we if we're wind up spending money on this kind of stuff, it could, I think it'll be a big issue if we don't at least start from for the sake of sounding like a broken record.
Two things is, one, I lay money they're gonna provide the equipment, because they never get a private sector business to go in there and invest hundreds of thousands of dollars for equipment.
Right.
On that, so I lay money they're doing the equipment. It doesn't work the same as Lenny's, what Mark was saying, but maybe there is a subcontract
Some kind of way we can do it.
that we can do it. Now, if it's open food cafeteria, you gotta do the competitive bidding and all of that stuff, but, maybe there'd be somebody that we could find.
Yes.
That would be interested in running it with our operator there. I don't know if that'd be anything Debbie'd be interested in, but she'd probably wanna maybe talk to them about term, all that type of stuff. Usually I'm not a big fan of that sort of thing, but in this case, it'd be better than just being left out in the cold, which is what I'm fearful is gonna happen to Debbie if we allow a private entity to come in there and run a full cafeteria. They're gonna compete with her on all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's gonna kill her business, especially in the same space there.
Yes.
That's where I was going with it, that how do we balance that? How do we try and give them what they want, at the same time protect our operator that's there already running the micro market? Because our goal isn't to put anybody out of business. So it's a problem.
Madam Chair, I think that is a good idea. That could be a possible.
Right.
It depends on if Debbie's interested in that, but that could be a possible subcontract. But I would make it limited if we were gonna do that. Limit it to, we're gonna do hot food because they want you to be there all day and all that, and the money's not there for that. It was barely there, we for that when we were there, but I would just say, this is what, maybe 3 days a week, because their most popular days used to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Maybe we come in with, if this could be a go of what we are willing to do.
Yeah, we've asked what the days and hours and the population, and what the figures for the other cafeteria are doing right now. Partnering or getting a teaming partner or anything like that, I think we're apprehensive going in there because we don't think it's gonna make money. And making a net, this, Yvette, with the wages and the labor, you're lucky to make 12%. So I think getting an entity to come in and agree to do that and to share that, I think that is a hard ask, but we can, I'm still gonna pursue with them. I just know that we don't want to do, we're not willing to run the hot food, but we want to preserve that micro market.
Well, the other thing is, and I know security could be an issue and a
Yeah,
factor.
it's a big
in-
issue there.
In this, but, you know, sometimes people would be willing to come in and do it because they're getting a fully equipped kitchen that they can work out of and, you know, do their own catering and stuff, you know, if they're a private entity. Now, security might throw that theory all the head. But, you know, because they may not be able to take their catering truck in and out of there and stuff. But going in and providing food and making some money there is tremendous for a private caterer to have a fully equipped kitchen and space that they're not having to pay for. I mean, that's worth a lot to them.
Madam Chair, but it definitely has to be someone that Debbie's feeling, that the operator feels comfortable with, and that with some you know, that's willing to agree to some
Yes.
you know, parameters or whatever. But I think that is the only how, and I agree with you, Christy, that it's hard to tell them, no, you can't have hot food and all this kind of stuff, but again, we have to make sure that we are protecting the micro market, and I think that's only how you can probably protect the micro market, is saying, okay, we're gonna research to see if we can partner and team partner with somebody, but this is, you know, and you know, this is where, you know, we'll get back with you. I don't know about them giving us a deadline, we gotta come up with an answer by, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that we should be allowing them, we need to explore this some more.
And especially since they're not giving us the answers to the questions.
Exactly.
That's absurd to give us a deadline to not answer our questions that allows us to give them an answer.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and obviously none of that happens without Debbie input and go ahead and she definitely needs to be involved throughout the whole process. And it is so disingenuous of these folks out there. That case just annoys me so much.
Yes.
And they came to us on bended knee, you know, during the COVID, and we provided them such excellent service, and they just, you know, that's not what the Randolph Shepherd Act's supposed to be. That, you know, oh yeah, you guys come and put your money in now and give good opportunities to operators, but then as soon as we don't want you anymore, it's not convenient for us, we're gonna toss you in the cold.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's exactly what they're doing, and it's so wrong.
Yeah.
But, okay, I'll fight soapbox now.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So let's follow up on the permit side, because that's why they can take advantage of us, though. That was our window to get them to come to the table. You want us, we missed our window, but I don't think that all is forgot. We need to go back to pursuing locking in our right to be there. I think as long as we leaving ourselves open to not having that contract in place, it's just gonna be hard to negotiate.
All right, so we gotta get more information, and we know it's on the table, so, yes.
Should we have a permit there and it expired, or we've never had a permit there?
Madam Chair, there's a permit, but it's so outdated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, we've changed locations and facilities and
I don't know.
Madam Chair?
I'm sure we've had motions to get this permit done.
Madam Chair, none of what I did was in the contract. None of what the facility, what we turned into, all the 17, most of the years that I was there on the base, none of that was under contract. The new location, none of these micro markets, none of this stuff is under contract.
Madam Chair, Mark Casmer's, the C-store that's now a micro market, there is an amendment and that's been signed. So that is memorialized, but the actual overarching permit needs updated. We've been working on it with them. I will get back with legal. We will continue to push and pressure them to update that because that's right. I mean, I remember Katie Fuller, right, 5 lawyers ago. So I will follow up on that.
Okay. Well, let's do a few of these facilities. We have a few facilities we got to talk about specifically on the agenda, and I think we can knock some of these out.
Okay.
And maybe take a lunch break. 504 Twin Valley.
Madam
Oval?
Chair,
Yes.
Facility 504, where John D was at.
Yeah.
So we are looking to post that facility, but the question is if we can add ODOT Labs, which is right down the street. John, we had them last year. It was a part of 525. The operator didn't want it, and we couldn't find anybody, so we ended up waiving it. And then when John D went into Twin Valley, he got into contact with them, and then we put more machines back. We put machines back in there. So our ask is that we post Twin Valley with ODOT Labs.
And I'm going to bring up something, and it was a request by Laura, and I don't think it is an unreasonable request. Laura Kolb is the current temporary operator there. She came in at the drop of a hat when John's health was failing, and then took it over temporarily when he knew he wasn't going to be able to come back. Laura has requested to be able to be there a couple of months. Normally, I'm all for putting things out for bid, but when somebody takes over a facility and is, they should make it worth their while. We shouldn't just make them temp it for 2 weeks, because we're gonna stop getting people gonna be interested if it's not gonna be for any period of time. I like to see us maybe put it out for bid around March 1st. And then with
Chair.
somebody else going in April. Somebody? John?
I gotta disagree with you on that. I think it should go out for bid immediately. There's people that want jobs, and it should go out for bid. The purpose of a temp is not to make yourself extra money. That's one of the benefits of doing the temp. Whether you make it for a week or, like, I've been trying to get the colleges back out, that I've been temping and stuff. But I mean, I covered Cleveland Federal Building for 6 weeks with no problem. And then it went out for bid, and just like it should. I disagree with that.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'm kind of with you because I think, she came in during the holidays and she didn't have to do that. And it's kind of a different situation than vending because of the commissary. So putting a new person in there, that's going to be rough to do.
Madam Chair?
Dean?
Yeah, I also talked to Laura, and for sure, the fact that all the drama that went down, it's my understanding, and let me know if I have this wrong, that she jumped in right there at the holidays and pretty much kind of gave up her holidays. Am I wrong about that?
You are not wrong.
Yeah, I thought I was right. Okay. And so that is a wonderful thing to do. And the main thing that I want to say here is it's my understanding, obviously because of the problems, that things weren't being done correctly. And to get things back to 100% before it gets bid out, yeah, I heard the term March also. Whether we bid it out now or not, why not just have the transaction date in March? Because it makes sense to have everything running at 100% for whoever takes it over.
Madam Chair.
Orville?
Well, one, I wasn't aware that Laura reached out to you or you and that or Dean, and I'm not even sure, Dean, what Laura has said wasn't going right there. Because I know the consultant and I, we've been working closely with John D there, but it's whatever y'all want. I mean, I do know that we have people waiting for jobs, but if you want Laura to temp it for a couple more months and we put it out March, that's fine with me, but I didn't know about the other stuff that y'all were saying. But I would say that, you know, when Laura did go into Twin Valley, she did a good job. The transition from the old building to the new building, it was nice and smooth, and I appreciate, you know, Laura for doing that. I do appreciate her jumping in, you know, during this time, because John D, you know, he was in what he was in. But again, whatever the committee decides.
And I totally agree normally with what John was saying. Under normal circumstances, I say if there's people waiting for jobs, that, you know, we need to get them in there. But this is a very unique situation. And honestly, if we don't allow people to do something for, John, you're very unique. You'll jump in and do temps, and we appreciate that. And you'll do them for short term, long term, however, whatever you're needed. A lot of folks can't do that, and it's not fair to just say, okay, you did all this work to come in, give your holidays, and then we're gonna take it in just a couple weeks. So I think we should wait until March 1st and bid it out.
Seth's trying to.
Oh, Seth, I'm sorry, I did not hear you.
That's fine. To Orville, the ODOT garage that you're talking about, what's the current status of that?
Madam Chair, what you mean current status?
You said, is it a temporary or is it already attached to Twin Valley?
Madam Chair, it is a temp. It's not attached. We do have a temp operator who went in there, and she was a little hesitant of going in there. We did, you know, I did kind of beg her if she could, because, you know, we did waive it, and I had a conversation with the director about the reason why we were pulling out. And then when John D went and had the conversation that I didn't know about, but you know, we were willing to put machines back in there. You know, my fear is that when we do post Twin Valley, if we don't have ODOT labs with it, I don't see nobody, you know, wanting to attach it to their facility because of where it's at, and it's only 2 combis. But yeah. I hope that answers your question, Seth. I'm sorry.
Oh, Frank.
Yes.
Okay, you're back.
I just had a question. I mean, I think that once she's in there, I don't think it's gonna be 2 weeks anyway, as far as, I don't think it'll be a problem with it going. I mean, if it went out now, it's gotta be out for 21 days. After you do all the transition, do all that, it's gonna be sometime in March anyway,
Right.
or April, that that the new, somebody else will be transitioning in. So I don't think we're doing anything really would be that special for this facility. I don't believe. I mean, unless my timing is off,
Put the start date for whenever, start date for.
I mean,
April 1st or whatever.
if you put it out sometime here in February or something, it's got to be out. That'd be almost a month. It's got, you know.
Yes.
So you're going to be falling into March or whatever. Am I right?
Yes.
To be able to actually, because you got to do you got to do your pick whoever's going to get it. You have to do the selection. That's the word I'm looking for. That takes time. And about time you get you're going to be falling somewhere into March. Am I right? Or April. And that you're the brainiac. I'm asking you, wouldn't we be falling into that?
No, we would, but I mean, and we can set a transition date. I mean, they put that transition date on the vacancy announcement. They can say whatever. Frank?
Madam Chair, I'll make the following motion, that Twin Valley and the, what is it called, ODOT labs be combined, and that they be posted March 1st of 2025.
I second it.
Okay. Any more discussion? And Keith, were you?
I'm seconding.
Okay, I thought you would ask for the floor.
No, I did, but that's what I was gonna say.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, go for the vote. Frank?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Mark?
Yep.
Seth?
No.
Dean?
Yes.
Keith?
Yes.
And I say yes. Okay.
Madam Chair, what date was that again?
March 1st.
March 1st.
All right, Madam Chair, I'm gonna move on to facility 701 right
Okay.
now. Nobody put in for it. So, the local and I, we talked and we need to put it back out.
Okay. You've already said to put it out. Any changes to it, just put it out like it was? Go ahead.
Thank you. Madam Chair,
Yes.
facility 834, Montgomery County, Nicole Perrin was awarded and transitioning to Cincinnati State. The local and I, we talked and we want to go ahead and throw that one out there, post that one.
And where's facility 834 located, Madam
Montgomery
Chair?
County vending and Dayton.
Montgomery County vending?
Yeah, Montgomery County Vending Ground.
Yep. Anyone have a issue with that going out for bid? Just as is, so. Okay.
Madam Chair, I'm not sure if you want me to move on to Summit Behavioral Health.
Yep, go ahead. And we'll-
Do you want to eat?
No, we can do something.
So with Summit, they have vending, they have commissary, and they have a snack bar. And I know Frank and I, we talked about it, and I know the last time the committee talked about it, we said going after the vending. Mike, a couple of things. I personally feel like we should go after Summit for everything at once. Instead of going after the vending a couple months down the road, we go after commissary and then the snack bar. I feel like there's a lot more questions we have to ask as far as the commissary and snack bar because they do things different compared to Twin Valley and Columbus. So the reason why I put this on the agenda is really to see if the committee is okay with us gathering more information, or if the committee wants us to just go for the vending and go for the commissary and snack bar.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Keith.
where's that located?
Cincinnati?
Cincinnati.
Like close to downtown?
I don't know.
No, no, Madam Chair, it's actually about 30 minutes from downtown,
Which way?
north.
So when I was coming down 75, I was
It's-
to it before I get to downtown.
It's near 75. It's I'm trying to think of where it is. Paddock Road. It's fairly close to 75. There's an exit to the street near where the facility is located off of 75.
I'm interested in Tiffany.
Okay.
Can I say that?
Yeah, no, you can, but, Frank, I'd like to know as far as the discussion goes, so, Frank, do you have anything you'd wanna?
Well, and Oracle did talk to me, Dave wasn't on the phone, so, and I did tell Oracle, I said, I said I'm not gonna really strongly commit to anything until the alternate comes, until, and I was hoping Dave would be here today, but he's not, so, anyway, the oral we did talk about that, and we talked about the fact that, the way the hospital's running that commissary, I told you guys before about them selling, they told us up front, they're like, buy everything from Sam's Club, we sell it to our patients really cheap, because they only get $40 a month, $10 a week, and they charge them like a quarter for a bag of Cheez-Its. I'm like, what? Well, we're in business to make a profit, so obviously we can't do that, I had a discussion with Aaron Hopkins last night, because I reached out to him. I wanted to see how he was doing things at North Coast and up in that area. And one of the things he was telling me was they have 3 people up there that help him. He goes and gets the stuff and everything, but 3 people that are in that particular facility that are inmates, they actually help fill the commissary orders. Now, there's somebody in that facility that's in charge of them, and I guess they get paid. He doesn't pay them. Somehow the facility pays them. I don't know if Summit would would do something like that or not, but it's one idea, at least ask them about, or if they even do something like that. The other thing is, you know, they have kind of sort of a snack bar. They do coffee from, I can't remember, 9 in the morning to 11, so there's gonna have to be I don't know, doing coffee for a couple of hours, I don't even know if that's really gonna be worth it for, you know, for one of our people. But the commissary and the vending together, I would hope, would be decent. And then, you know, one of the things, and I had talked to Laura Cole too, and one of the things she was telling me, we talked about the pricing, and she goes, yeah, that's gonna be a big adjustment for the patients. And I said, yeah, I can see that. You know, that doesn't mean we're gonna go in and charge them a fortune, but we do have to adjust pricing, you know, for the current day. And
Yes.
So.
Madam
anyway,
Chair?
That's everything I have. I do believe we need the commissary in. That's one of the things Aaron even stressed to me. We need the commissary and the vending together for it to be, you know, for it to be worth it.
Yes.
I believe that it's best, as Orville said, to go after the whole thing and then work out the other, because if not, you're having competing services, you know, pricing and all that kind of stuff, and that'll cause an issue. So I believe that if we're gonna look into it, and we could be gathering our information on everything at the same time, but I think if we're gonna go into that, we need to be going after the whole thing.
Well, I understand Orville's ask is just to be able to get some more information at this point, so let's do it. There's no harm in getting information, that's for sure.
Thank you.
All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and break for lunch? I'm gonna say 1:45, come back to that financial first. We don't know what they're going for. But try and be back in about Okay.
Started.
Yes. The next thing on the list is customer service standards. I don't know what that is, so.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, Christie.
Speech on. Stop.
No, it's just bringing to the committee that we've had a rash of complaints from a multitude of operators that, and it's not just one complaint, it's multiple. And I want to know some ideas on how we can help people. Is this like a topic for statewide? You know, operators have to be open for, you know, coaching or to provide mentors. And I don't want to put people on PIPs. That's the last thing I want to do. But we're having a rash of multiple complaints. What we do is, of course, we immediately notify the operator. Sometimes, you know, like everything else, it gets better for a minute and then it slides off again. You know, I always worry about high profile areas, and some of these are there, and but I should worry about all areas, you know? I don't know if it's a matter too of, you know, going on the positive side and highlighting when people do a great job and making a big deal about that, whether that's be here, statewide, you know, to kind of peer pressure, motivate people to do better. I don't want to use names, I just want ideas of how we can focus, because remember, you know, the premier, right?
Well, Derek could sign it.
I know he could. The service provider of choice.
Yes.
And I will tell you that you ask some of these grantors, we would not be there at all, like, if we didn't have priority. And that's not, you know, we want to provide good customer service. And I want to say that the majority of operators do, but there's at least 7 or 8 people that are struggling and legitimately struggling or just don't care. So I don't know if there's ideas that, and maybe not today, but you guys can think about it, that we can do to help people.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I think a good one would be for like blind individuals to train blind people coming into the program, because they can help them more than I could, you know, or somebody that's, you know, has vision, we use our vision, where they don't, you know, they have no vision, so it's hard to train somebody that is a total. if you're not, you know, I didn't go to bond school, I didn't do none of that, so I don't, I mean, I have knowledge when it comes to business, but not in that manner.
Well, I'm guessing this isn't a blindness issue in most cases. If it is, then that's can be easily extra training.
Yeah, I was just thinking for like down the road.
Yeah.
When you know, pick up trainers or want somebody to train somebody or something like that, maybe.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'm secretary, so this is inappropriate for me to be butting in, but I want to put my other business hat on. Are any of these issues related to blindness and possibly other adjustment issues like mental health issues or comorbid issues that are related to the other conditions? I'm just asking because...
I wouldn't say any of them, but I would think most of them are not. I'm guessing it one of two things. It's either the operator is overwhelmed and it is a training issue. They've taken on more than they can chew a little bit, things like that. Or in some cases, they're just lazy. I'll be straight up about it. There's some that they're gonna get by with the minimum, and I'd like to think those ones are few and far between, but it does happen. So I like the positive reinforcement thing. This has always been a tough one because we are business people and we are you know, I've always said we have a right to make bad business decisions, but we also should expect some things to be, you know, people to give their best to it. So I've never known where to draw the line with that.
Well, Madam Chair, I just want, I want you guys to know that not everyone, people have different feelings about their career and people do not run their business like you run your business. Like it's a varying degree. And I think you're right. I think sometimes people get overwhelmed. Sometimes people their heart isn't in it. They've checked out. They have an employee that, you know, I think it is a combination. And we want to be supportive. We don't want to lose, we don't want to lose grantors either. And I will say that the majority, we are successful when there is a problem. I do think that the majority of our operators are very responsive when a problem arises and when there's a complaint. They don't ignore it. But the maintaining of good customer service is, the problem.
And it should be noted, every business gets complaints. You're not going to be in business and not get a complaint. It's going to happen. But somebody's sometimes going to, you know, that they're going to get something that wasn't as fresh as they thought, or you know, a date got overlooked, or you know, the machine took their. It's how you deal with the complaints more so than the complaints themselves. I've always thought, you know, does somebody make it right? And you know, fix the problem. And like you said, that's my opinion on it. If someone thinks they're going to come into this and never get a complaint, whether it scales up to the bureau's level or not, it's just not going to happen.
And Madam Chair, I'm not suggesting that. I would never come and bring a topic where I have one-offs and this. I'm only bringing it because it's the same 7 people and it's multiple complaints. And it's not just, and you're right, there's no way, no business is perfect. I don't ever expect that there's going to be no expired product, or we all know that there's, I've witnessed it, runs on machines at rest areas when a big huge bus or events happen. There's always going to be that. And I don't, no big deal on those. I mean, it is what it is. That's great that, there's a run and people are making money. It's just the multiple, the same people going, our machine's empty again, or, when is this person going to restock? And, it's those things. So, that was it.
I do like the positive reinforcement, though. I mean, that's
just want to verify, are these being checked out? Because like Cincinnati State, I had a lot of complaints about empty machines and taking photos and sending photos of machines that are 80% full and calling them empty. So is that being looked into also, or is this just kind of just the multitude of complaints?
So, we know that there are some grantors that have unrealistic expectations. And recently, it's not them, it's not those people. And, you know, we do verify, and we do go out, and we do double check, and we do, and again, our first thing, I think, as the SLA is to provide, like, what can we do to help you? Like, can we link you with someone? But they have to be willing to accept that. And a lot of our veterans are not willing to accept help or suggestions. And, but yeah, I hear you. And we've had, in the past, some really squirrely grantors where like, ugh. And we've had even grantors where one grantor will be like, yeah, that person's being ridiculous, like within the grant. But the rash lately, it hasn't been that case.
I'm going to share something, and then Christy and Orville and Mark, you guys are there at Blast. Jesse Hartle from RSA was speaking, and he got asked a question about what should your expectations be like for your SLA? And he answered a question, he said they should be extremely high. And he went on to say why, but then he said, but that same standard goes both ways. And your expectations of the operators in your program should also be extremely high. Because we're all, whether we like it or not, we all represent one another. So that kind of rang to me some, and so I think we do need to find a way to help those who, for some reason, have fallen through the cracks. What I don't want to see happen, and this is where I've always had the concern, is we've had people in the past. I don't believe anyone who works for the agency now, but we've had people in the past whose expectations were what you were saying, Christy, that you wouldn't ever bring. But, you know, they got a complaint, they jumped right on and they're running over and taking pictures and wanting to talk to people about PIPs, and, you know, and they said there's never excuse for having an outdated product. And their expectations were just way too high. I've always said, if an operator told me they've never had an outdated product, I'm going to tell them they're lying, because it happens. So that's where I've always been worried about standards. I guess we want high standards, but where do we define that?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
That's another thing too. What do you do for somebody that thinks they're doing a good job, and you know they're not? You know things ain't going good, but they tell you they're doing okay. And you offer to help them, they're like, oh no, I'm good. I don't know, what the problem is. But you know what the problem is. I mean, I know what the problem is. But trying to get them to understand that, because they think they're doing fine. That's the rough part.
Madam Chair, just from my, is that Orville speaking?
That was Mark.
Oh, that was Mark Wood, okay.
Yeah, that was horrible.
It was, duh.
John. Was it John?
People are gonna hate me for this.
Nope.
Some operators may just need to be thrown out sometimes. Do you guys still do shock removal?
No.
No.
Don't bring that up.
I went through the Pennsylvania program. That was the toughest training I've ever had in my life, in blind, regular, any. They had a 25% graduation rate.
Ooh.
And they only graduated good operators. I mean, just because you're blind, you may not be a good businessman. You may never get the concepts.
Okay.
Being blind, you should have a try, you should, as much as anybody else, but some people, it's just, they're not meant to run a business. They're meant to be employees. They don't have, I don't know how to get a van, I don't know how to get an employee, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that. And this people have been in the program 20 years telling me they don't know how to hire somebody. When you're not a manager. That's my opinion.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
No, the whole shock removal, that's a trigger word for me. But you bring up, one of the things that I think that we had before was, and I do think we have to look at when we do the rules. We used to have goals. Other states have goals.
Yes.
I know Michigan has a goal. Now, Michigan, if you don't make your goal, you're on a PIP. I would prefer that goals, if you meet your goals, it benefits you for selection. You know, make it more positive, that you're awarding people that do a good job. You know, the problem with the goals, my understanding was when people didn't like their goals, they'd call their consultants and the goal would be lowered and then goals didn't mean anything. But we need to get something where there's some sort of standards, because it affects the whole program, the reputation, but also, you know, and how many times it's like this whole temp stuff, like people have to reestablish sales. I get it when we're brand new into the thing, but the fact that, you know, we've got people that have, quite frankly, tanked a facility that then someone else has to go in and clean up, and I know, I mean, that's happened. It's happened multitude of times. Yeah, that's gone and cleaned up facilities for us. I just think, and it won't be decided today, we just need to think of how we can help those that struggle. And I agree wholeheartedly in that. I think that there are people that get overwhelmed. But then I do think that, to your point, that there are people that don't have the heart and care. So.
Madam Chair.
Yes, you can.
I know I missed part of the conversation, but I do want to comment on the goals thing. But the goals have to be, if we're going to set goals, it has to make sense. Because you can't compare a vending route to someone who has, like, I'm just speaking for myself, 11 employees with a payroll that's, you know, and then we go to a selection, and we'll say, well, you know, this person didn't meet their goals or whatever, but the goals have to make sense, because you can't compare again, a vending route with somebody with 2 employees to a location that has 5, 6, 7 or more employees. So I think that some of the issues with the goals that we have used in the past, some of it did not make sense as far as what locations we're talking about.
Yeah, Frank?
Madam Chair, that's what, Yvette, you're right. One of the things that happened many years ago was I think they didn't understand comparing what you were doing at DCC and calling it a cafeteria, comparing it with the Rhodes Office Tower with, at the time, Chris Johnson's facility. Well, you were running a different type of operation up at DCC, if I remember. You were doing food court, food court style, whereas Chris was doing, the standard cafeteria line. So, yeah, your operation was going to require more help and more expenses and all of that stuff. So the goals would have been, just because both fell under the umbrella, I think fell under the title of cafeteria, I think the goals were being set identical for both places when they needed to take into account the format of each.
Yeah, that's where we've always ran it. I think a lot of folks like goals. They like the idea of people who's doing a better job and producing better numbers, getting extra points in selection compared to someone who does it. We've never been able to figure out how to do it right. That's for the various things that Yvette and Frank mentioned. When you mentioned Christy, the operator would call their consultant up and cry and say this is done too high, and they would lower them, or they just weren't even set properly. I know in his case, there were a couple people who both had rest areas. One person had a gross profit goal set at 63%. The other one had it 58%. And the one at the higher goal said, well, why am I being penalized. Why do I gotta hit a higher goal? And they said, well, you're doing a better job. Well, so I gotta do even better job, the person said, than the other person to get the point? It just wasn't, it wasn't implemented right. That's where we run into problems with that.
But Madam Chair, and I agree with that, but I think we, throw the baby out with the bathwater too. And we need to look at other states too. And, again, open food, I think, is way of the past, so that probably won't come into play. But, what a micro market versus a college, university versus a rest area, and, the average, not like, and figure that out, and maybe have a range, and maybe have that, it has to be within a certain range. I don't understand where I'll look at, speaking of which, here's an advertisement. The Big Book and the RSA 15s could be distributed in the next couple of weeks to everyone, so there's numbers for that. The Big Book it looks at every facility and just gives you what they did. And we've been doing that for years. And then the RSA 15, which we haven't shared publicly, but we should, that's what we report to RSA 15 every year. But I think, I lost my train of thought. I think we can look at that. Because I think that if everyone has goals to work for, I think that also, helps. I think having a goal. And I want realistic goals. And I don't want to go to punishment. I want to go to reward.
Well, let's give it some thought. And like you said, we're not gonna solve it today, obviously, but it is something that we should give some thought to. Because when one of our folks is doing bad, it does reflect on every one of us. On our program overall, so. Okay. Anything else?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Steve.
just real quick, when does the Big Book come out?
Madam Chair, Amy's working on it, finalizing it, and then it will be sent out probably in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Lord.
I know many meetings ago, we talked about Facility 626, the Rhodes Tower, downtown. When Missy went in and the health department says some things needed to happen, and it was going to end up costing like $50,000 for us to, bring up the code, and we discussed about turning it into a micro market. And so we are still working on that, but I wanted to let the committee know that it's going to be a very expensive project. That's going to be well over $50,000 to convert it into a micro market. And again, it's the C-store that's at the Rhodes Tower that Lester Klein had ran. We got to replace the floor, plumbing and stuff like that will cost some money.
We'll bring back the quote when we get it.
Yes, and we'll bring back the quote when we get it. So we're still working on it. I'm not sure if people had questions about that.
Yes, Frank.
Aurora, Christers, do we believe it will pay for itself over time, or are we putting up money that we just don't know?
Madam Chair, I do. The Rhodes Tower, every time I go in there, they're busy. There's a lot going on at the Rhodes Tower, and converting into a micro market would help staff that's there past 5 p.m. Be able to purchase things. So I'm not saying in a month we get that money back, but yes, it will pay for itself.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I have a question. Is the location of the micro market in the same place Lester Klein's, or is there another area in the building that we're able to?
Madam Chair, it's the same place,
Okay.
location.
I think it'll be great having a micro market there. I really do. There's other facilities that could be that too. Just a little something. All right. Anything else on this standard thing. Michael Market, okay, a list of operators willing to help. When somebody goes on vacation, or not vacation, when somebody's sick, that's the big thing. Laura Cole asked me to bring this up, and I told her I would. I didn't think it was a bad idea to talk about. When an operator gets, and we've kind of batted this around before, what to do when an operator gets too ill to run their facility. The responsibility of the facility still sticks with the operator, we all know that. But maybe we can put together a list of people who are willing to come in and give a hand, and maybe temporarily take over the facility for the ailing operator, in cases of emergency. The idea was maybe to put out an email and say, hey, is there anyone who's willing to, help out if it's ever needed? Does anyone think of that, or?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Dee.
Didn't we do something like that in the past? Because I kind of remember, like in the Akron-Canton area, we asked some of our friends if they would run our facility if we ended up in a hospital,
Yeah.
And then I thought we, maybe wrote their name on a form in the past. Am I wrong about this? Because it's sticking in my head. We did something in the
We
past.
had to do a thing here a few years ago where we told the Bureau, who are, I think they call it a central person or something, would be if something happened that one of us was unreachable or was sick, who else could they talk to in that circumstance? That might be what you're
Thinking about?
thinking
Okay.
about, but it had to be on a form. That's the only one I could think of to be on a form. And some of us have been able to, if we're gonna be sick, or people, they found somebody on their own, but not everybody has the same network of skills and stuff.
Right.
So the ask was maybe we just put out an email and say, hey, would you be interested if the need came to run somebody else's facility for them if in an emergency type situation? And put a list together and see what happens.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes,
though.
you bet.
How would that be handled as far as, like, you thinking, and I'm not trying to, 'cause I think it's possible, but when you're thinking about cantaloupe, credit card, all that kind of stuff, how would that be handled? Because the person, they're sick, they may be in the hospital, can't run their location. How does someone come in, what you're dealing with right there, but when you start thinking about the credit card companies, all that, I mean, I can see, how would we be able to help that operator and the operator that's helping out to work those things out? Because, if the credit card readers and all that, somebody else's name, you're really limited on what control you have over funds and inventory and buying stuff. So I'm just saying, how would we?
I think the operators would have to work that out amongst them, All the OVRC in now is a list.
Okay.
And the operators would have to work that out. My personal opinion would be if I was in that situation and I'm too sick to run my place, and I ask you, Yvette, you're saying you're willing to come in and do it, I would just turn it over to you. I would say, let's do an inventory, keep the Bureau out of it, still my location. When I get better, I want it back.
I understand.
And you and I go in, we do an inventory, I give you the keys, I pay to transfer the credit card things to you, and then I pay to transfer them back. Because you're doing that for me, and whatever you can make out of it in the meantime, you make out of it in the meantime. That's how I would do it. But someone else may feel different. They might want to pay an operator to do it. I think all we're looking for here is if there's a list of people who's willing. And if the Bureau would be willing to send out an email saying, hey, would you be interested if the situation arose, would you be interested in being considered on a list to help a fellow operator who may be in trouble? And it's just a yes or no thing then at that point. I don't see a harm in putting a list together. Doesn't obligate anybody, it
Right.
doesn't harm, and it could help somebody.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
are we sure that this is the correct forum to do this in? If we're talking about the Bureau not being involved at all, which I understand, should they then be involved with setting people up? Because, so, what you said, you transfer everything to Yvette. Yvette doesn't file MORs. That's all on you. Do you come back on the Bureau, because the Bureau knows Yvette's running your thing while you're sick, but she didn't file the MORs because she can, because they're in your name? There's a lot of gray area here, and I don't think that, if I was the Bureau, I wouldn't touch it.
Madam Chair,
yes, Keith.
and I'm just thinking outside the box. There is ways to do it, such as my particular situation. My bookkeeper gets a copy of my cantaloupe stuff, and it identifies cash and credit card payments. And I have control over how to move my money to, you know what I mean, wherever. Because it don't go just to the business bank account, it goes to another account that I allocated for purchases, payroll, and expenses. And if a person can do that, that would help me if I was ill. But I would maintain control over it, because I don't think the scenario you gave, and I'm just thinking, turning it over to somebody and then getting it back, it's legal. I don't think. That's all I got.
I think it'd be legal. It may not be what most people would want to do. But I wouldn't see that it'd be illegal. I'm trying to think through that, but I don't know how it would be illegal.
Madam Chair, from the
Yes.
state's point of view, you need a temporary operator because they are still the agency that oversees. So I don't see how they cannot be involved. I mean, unless we just came in and did not, you just like you said, did it as a friend, did it as just an operator, as something, you know, we work for that person, or I can't see legally them doing the inventory and out and doing all that, and we do not have a temporary operator contract in place. And then just that operator say, oh, I'm gonna just give it back to you. I think that it would, you know, and I think, like you said, there's nothing wrong with putting a list together. I don't think there's an issue with that. I think those details have to be worked out, because the state is still the agency that's responsible.
Well,
Yes.
there was, and he's no longer with us, Russ Jeffries, and he was a UC operator. He was in a situation where he couldn't run his facility. He thought he was going to be able to come back based on what doctors were telling him. And we didn't, the program didn't want to remove him. Dave and I didn't want to remove him. So I think Adam Kiefer was the area manager at that time, and he said, well, we can get somebody to run his facility for him. And we're not, the agency wasn't in the middle of it. I think it ended up being Dave. Dave ran it for him. He initially had told Dave's like, well, I only need enough money from it just to buy stock and whatever. And originally, Russ had told him, or initially said, oh, just keep all the money. Then he called him back and said, oh, I actually need some money. Dave was like, man, it's your facility. Take whatever you want. I'm just trying to hold it for you. So we did eventually call Dave at some point and say, hey, the news from the doctors wasn't good. I'm not going to be able to come back. But Dave just continued to run until, he passed away, unfortunately. But it was worked out between the two operators, and I think that's what Annette was trying to say.
Right.
Too. Now, Dave did have to file, because Russ was still responsible for that facility. Somebody had to put the numbers together and file an MOR for that facility.
Well, if you don't wanna,
Madam Chair, I think there's not a problem with us putting a list together for who would be interested to do that, because I wouldn't mind being on the list. So I don't think, your initial thing is, can we just get a list together? I don't think that's an issue.
That's all I'm thinking.
Yeah,
The
Madam Chair, I don't think that's an
details of
issue.
how it worked out would be between the
Operator.
helper and the.
Yes.
And the ailing operator.
Yes.
That was my point, I guess. I probably didn't
No, you
explain
didn't.
it clear, but, yeah, so getting a list together, I think would be I didn't see any harm, I guess,
No,
in putting a list
no.
together. And saying these people would be interested if the time ever came of being considered to help out.
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yes, or-
I know we about to be wrapping up, but I do have an uplift that I want to share. It's from my Cincinnati consultant as well as Nikki, who transitioned into 1017. They want to uplift Seth Ryan for going above and beyond by providing a detailed list of products. So her vending machine, which helped with the transition, it made it very smooth. I want to say they were able to get done with it in less than 5 hours. Seth, you can say something if I'm wrong, but I know initially, somebody was nervous. I'd be myself. And then when I got the text that it was done, and I got, I'm just like, well, what happened? Well, he provided a list. I was like, Seth always got something up his sleeve. That's my uplift. So
Yes.
thanks again, Seth, for that.
Madam Chair, it looks like that's best practice. Like, if that's working, tell us what you did.
So basically what 1017, when I was running Cincinnati State, I would just take my Coke orders that went there and just add that as my inventory, but I would take my actual pick list of what I pulled to take to 1017, and I kept that as a monthly so that I would have my inventory, so I'd get all my purchases, I subtract what I took to Cincinnati State from it. So I already had it figured out where, this one bag of chips is 72 cents, so I just had a spreadsheet worked out where by month I knew exactly how much I put in my machines. So I just copied that over on a Excel spreadsheet and just marked down, this many snack machines, this many stacks, this many glass fronts. And that way they would just go in order, and I did it on Excel so that I added it up at the end for you. Although they didn't take that one, I had to change it.
Good.
Madam Chair,
Anything that helps? We have a couple more agenda. Go ahead, do that.
I would say that is Christie, what he just did, that kind of probably how Indiana gets their figures, wouldn't you say? How they get their figures to figure out how much product, something similar to that.
All right, IVR update.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
It really should be Amy, but it's me.
You better have the data.
I know. Berna did. Berna.
Okay.
BSVI. No. The original price, and again, this involves CBTS, the IVR. This is for IVR to emulate like what OBG does, for them to be able to store people's banking information so they don't have to put it in and there isn't issues where someone's putting in the wrong account number. CBTS decided, after we had done the statement of work and everything, that more work needed to be done, since OBG does not store the information like CBTS thought. Like, again, multiple conversations on the phone with multiple IT people. So Amy deserves the day off. First price submitted was, the original price was $49,000. And you guys all agreed, yep, let's go forward. Again, our portion of that set aside was 21.3. Then they came back, said more work needs to be done. They didn't think that it could work the way that it originally was thought of. And so they came back and said 79,000. Yep. And so we got our IT department involved to look over the statement of work and to question the cost. And they did lower it by a couple thousand. So now it's $77,265.
Woohoo!
So it is a
Yikes.
DAS contract, so we don't have to go to controlling board, which is good. But we need your guys' thought, like, we still want to go forward with this to emulate the systems. It was supposed to be done in February. It hasn't even started.
kidding.
But it's, you know, we can say, yay, come next week, and they can get started on this.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I have a question, Christie. What do they mean OBG does store our account information? We don't have to type that in every month. We just click on it, and I don't know what they mean it doesn't store it.
Madam Chair,
Oh, hold on. Okay, go ahead.
you bet. I think what they're saying is they thought they were gonna be able to get the telephone system to store the bank account in whatever way they were trying to do it. They're saying that's not gonna work. That's why it's gonna cost more money.
Correct. It's not OBG, it's the IVR.
Right.
It's the IVR, and so they're two different separate systems, but we have to make sure that they mirror each other. That was the whole point.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ben.
we don't have a signed contract for the 49,000.
We don't. I don't know. Amy's not here. Even if we had, they said that the statement of work changed. But I don't know if it was fully executed or not.
I'm gonna say, we had a lot of operators who were very vocal about this a few years ago, about wanting the telephone IVR to be able to hold this. My personal thing is, I didn't think it was as big of a deal, but we had a lot of operators who did, and cared very greatly about this. So, boy, I hate to spend that a lot of money.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can I just, because I got my little calculator out.
Okay.
So the set-aside portion of that would be $16,457.
Yeah, that's true, that's not as.
It's not the 77,
No,
it's the
it's not.
16,000.
It is.
And Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think for whatever it costs to even the playing field for totally blind or whoever's using this system, it will be worth it.
All right.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just want to remind you, when all this crazy technology started getting pushed on us, the administration in the past promised that these two systems would be fair and equal with each other.
Yes.
Christie, do you guys need a motion or anything from us to move forward with this, or?
Madam Chair, I don't think so. Like, we brought it to you guys. I don't think we need a motion.
Sure.
Yeah.
Allocate more money.
I've already said to move forward with it, so it should be good.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ben.
did our original recommendation have a stated amount of money that we? I mean, can you legally move forward on a recommendation to spend 49,000 and spend 79,000?
That I don't know. I don't remember. This was several years ago it's been at this point.
So, Madam Chair, maybe to be safe, we should do it.
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that we authorize the Bureau to spend $79,000 to get the IVF system in compliance with OBG.
Okay, Keith second. Any more discussion? Okay, do the vote. Frank?
Yes.
John?
Yeah.
Mark?
Yeah.
Seth?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Keith?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Yeah, it's only 16, but it is,
Right.
we know what it is. Okay, now we're down to, well, we got the rules discussion. We're gonna hit anything else first, and then we'll see where we go with rules. We talked a little bit this morning about Elkton. And I said we circle back on that and circle back on, I want to talk about the secondaries. I do not want these things falling off our radar. And I'm very disappointed in how slow things have moved so far with these things. Elkton's a federal prison, federal property, it's a no-brainer. Very low cost to go in there, very potentially huge return. This could knock Lenny off the top spot, in all honesty. You know, for our program, for operators, and I'm very sad that we haven't moved on this. We've asked a little bit, but we really need to move forward on this. The secondaries. The biggest reason we're not doing the secondaries this spring is because we didn't move when we asked to be. And every day that goes by that we're not moving is days that go by that blind operators aren't making money and our program's not making money on it. So I think we need to talk about putting a plan together. How are we going to make sure that these things are not getting forgot?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So for Elkin, again, we've done a FOIA request. They're bulking. I can go to legal and see what else we can do. Not bulking, but they're taking their sweet time. So I don't know how to tell a federal property, you know, you have to give us this information ASAP. But we'll go back and maybe in the meantime, while we're waiting for it, we can request a walkthrough and to evaluate it. We don't have to wait until we have the numbers. But we did put in the FOIA request, and they said it was gonna take a while. I don't know why, and I don't have the control over federal properties and how long they can take for FOIA. The secondary, I highly recommend that is something we talk about, act statewide with everyone, with the information on who is willing to run these, and because again, we put out a list, and we got very little. Got like 4 people, the same 4 people saying, I'm willing to do it, I'm willing to do it. But then there's all these other ones that no one said anything about. No one's like, you know, I need you guys to come up with a plan on, and the realistic and talking to people that are in the southeast area, and that, you know, is that Pageant, is that Josh French, is that, I get all the Hall brothers mixed up still today. Talking to people going, and there's a couple of Cincinnati too, maybe, like, is this realistic? How far is it from your house? Is this something you can do? Is it something, I know you think that we can make one big job out of the southeast. I don't know, and I spent a lot of time figuring out the mileage. And then for no one only the same 3 people to look at that list, I was kind of disappointed too. Because I was ready, let's go. Tired of talking about it. Let's go. Let's go. I'm ready. But we've got to, we start these things and then it doesn't go, it kind of falls off. And I always feel like I kind of get defensive. It's all on me, but it's all on all of us. And so we do need it.
Madam Chair, Christie, as far as Elton, I think Johnny Mack had mentioned earlier when we weren't in the meeting, there's some kind of contract, I don't know if you're doing the venue in Elton, but the contract expires in March or something like that.
I believe that's what we were told in here.
I'll find out.
Yeah, that's one of the concerns right there.
Yeah, and if there's a contract that's expiring in March, we need to just tell them we're interested in exerting our priority and taking this over. Okay. We can find the numbers later. What John gave us, and what was that number again, John?
2,000 prisoners spend $300 a month at the commissary.
Yep.
That's 600,000, 7.2 million a year. That alone should put it at the top of our list.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Trustee, do we have these secondary ones, back to the secondary? If you have some that people say they're interested in, why don't we start with getting those on ours and then still looking at Coke to run the other ones until we have people interested in running?
We will ask Coke, but I don't think, our fear is that Coke's not gonna just take the little teeny ones without it's lucrative because it's all the whole state. And that's the problem. The other problem is if Coke says, no, we're done, we could put out another RFP for the ones that no one wants, but if no one takes it, I still think we're obligated as the state for ODOT to service those and then not to let them just hang out. But those are options. They're all options. And we could ask and we could find out, you know, it's really, because that's also a DAS contract. I can't call Coke and say, hey, are you guys willing if we, you know, rework the contract? Because they put out a contract
It goes to, we do put in it has to either be Coke or Pepsi. We don't want Snapple or Dr. Pepper to take it. But that's the thing. And I don't want it to always be an all or nothing, but it kind of sort of is an all or nothing. I don't think that because, I think Coke takes it because of the couple few lucrative ones that our operators are interested in. And they are spread out. They're spread out, particularly at the Southeast. And one of the things that I know Lindsay and I are talking about too is targeted recruitment, and we do need to do targeted recruitment. And in the Southeast Appalachia, that is hard. I mean, it is hard.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Yvette.
one of the issues with the list, because I did look at that list too, Chrissy, that you put out, I have no idea what half of those places are. It didn't tell you what it's closest to, I don't think. I mean, I've just, some of the places I ain't even heard of. So, I mean, I think that was really, maybe, I don't know, I can't speak for other people, but that was kind of my hold back from even speaking on it, because some of them is like, where is that at, I mean, it didn't say what city it was closest to, or what, I don't know, it was just hard for me to.
So, Madam Chair, it did say closest city.
It did? Okay.
It did, and it said the zip code, and I do think we need to talk about this in statewide, to the bigger crowd, and to really, I think we need to, kind of recruit people to try this out.
The other thing we could look at in Southeast, especially Ohio, if there's absolutely no places that we could get Ohio folks, maybe talking to West Virginia and Kentucky. West Virginia, there's not far across the border, we have other places. Some of their operators might be, they recently took over their rest areas and are very happy with them. So it might be something that, another option.
Madam Chair, the other option is that we have operators that take them over, but then maybe they third party, kind of like I know Dwayne third parties with Universal. That's, or third party with a local company down there. Again, they don't, some of these, they're not like, I'm looking at it right here, 2023, like one hawking, 7,000 for a year, and then on the other side of the 8,000. So, around 16,000 total for a full year.
I'd double that when you add snacks.
Okay, yeah. Yep.
And I think that's one thing people weren't looking at either. If you add snacks to that, you're gonna double the sales.
Madam Chair, the one
Yeah.
Krista just referenced, that was probably one of the higher ones. I'll have to go, it's been a while since I looked at that one.
Madam Chair, that was not one of the higher
No,
ones.
that wasn't?
No. We've got Gallia and Jackson, they're
Okay.
31, 24, 35.
Okay.
The other thing, like Ottawa I'm looking at, that was 6,400, but I have a note. It's less than 1 mile from Camp Perry, and I know that we're working on a BGA for Camp Perry. So again, that might be something where whoever bids on Camp Perry, that would be an easy, they're really close to each other. So we will, and if I can get this list out quarterly, getting this list out again, I want everyone to look at it.
That would be good.
Okay.
That would be good.
All right, Madam Chair, I do have something else.
Okay.
That isn't on the thing. That may or may not be controversial, I don't know. AG certification. AG certification.
Oh, okay.
So, our rules say we shall certify, right? And the rules also state that if you have any past due debt, you're not eligible to come into the program. Well, the agency, what the AG does is that they get into agreements with, agencies on, because sometimes they collect, but then they send it on to other collection agencies. And they want to get into an agreement with OOD, and you have to understand, we're just one piece of OOD. We have certified for VR, DDD. They want to get into a 15-year agreement. What that would mean is that anyone that has debt that's older than 15 would no longer be pursued and their debt would be erased. The problem with that is that then if their debt is erased, then they are eligible to come back into our program. Now with our rules, the old rules, it was with seniority, it would go back to their, they could just come back in, their original license date would count. We have safeguards now, it's time work, plus now we have safeguards where if they've been out of the program for more than 5 years, they gotta go through the front door again. So there's safeguards there. The list of AG, and I know of one operator that is over that 15 years that has still paid as of last year. He still is paying on it, but I'm going to try to bring it up. He would be eligible to come back and it would be wiped out. I think that when we redo the rules, and if we get rid of inventory, a lot of these people would not be certified. We would still have to have this in the rules though, because if someone, has past due set aside, that legitimately would be certified. But I think in the rules, we need to look at, can we say in the rules that we will no longer pursue people that have passed away? Can we say, after so many years that we're no longer going to pursue? And I'll tell you, looking at this list too, it is, so the one person that is still paying, they were certified originally in 2006. Their original balance was $13,344. They paid a total of $1,000. Their new balance, because of all of the fees and the compounds, they now owe $33,000.
Ooh.
Oh, right.
Ouch.
Right.
Ouch.
And that's a lot. I look at this list and I'm telling you right now, on this list, there is approximately 36 people on this list.
Wow.
But some of them have actually paid off. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 6 people that have paid it off. A couple people have settled. But beyond the 15 years, I've got, and some of them, we have no documentation for it all, like in our system. Because I was trying to figure out like how much is late, or how much is inventory, how much is set aside. We've got people in here that were certified because it was in the rules at the time for commission. I know. But again, I just wanted to say that the agency just feels it's prudent for the agency to get into a 15-year agreement, and that, we're part of the agency. I don't think it's prudent to have a separate agreement for us, but that's a lot to chew on, as I know, and I just threw all that out. But if there's any questions.
Madam Chair, so Christy, let me get an understanding. If it goes beyond 15 years, they just go, they eliminate the debt, or
Yep.
if they, so it doesn't start over. It goes from when the time. It doesn't start over for those people, right?
Nope, it's, their debt is erased. Their debt is erased.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that looks for in like what their credit report reflects. I have no idea. I don't even know if they're informed that it's erased. That's one of my questions. Mm-hmm. Does the AG inform people that it's erased? Mm-hmm. We've now learned in the last couple of years that, and I never knew this, but we now know that people could call into the AG and make a settlement offer. I don't know if these people know that.
Knew that. Mm-hmm.
A couple of them, we even found that they've passed away. So.
Someone over there had asked.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
If someone is out for 5 years and has to go back through training, do they receive a new license number? Because
So,
I'm
that's
sorry,
an
I believe
excellent-
our thing goes by license number as opposed to person on the license. So
So-
if I have a new license number, that would start me over on seniority.
So seniority is based on time work now. It's not based on your license date. The problem is to take a person's license away, and it's my understanding that prior me, they used to send a letter, you've been inactive for 2 years, we're taking your license away. To take a license away, you have to do a 119 hearing. And so, I don't know I think with the new rules, and I'll have to look, that you go through the training and it's just reactivated your original license, but the license date really doesn't matter anymore. It's time worked. But I think we try to flush that out. I don't 100%.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
It would kind of matter, especially new people that come in and haven't done anything, that you have somebody that goes through training with them, but walks in the door with 10 years from 20 years ago.
I think they should have a new license and a license date. I don't know, we need to follow our rules and comport with that, and that might be a rule change as well, that we might have to put in there. So, let me dig in with legal on how to address that. And yes, you have a valid point.
And Madam Chair, the 2-year thing about being inactive, go back to license or whatever, your license, unless it's revoked through like a hearing, like Christie said, it is permanent. It's, even if you're not active, after 5 years, you're gonna have to go, in our program, our will have to go get it renewed now. But they did send letters out like that every couple of years, hey, you haven't done anything in 2 years, so we're taking your license. Some people came forward and said, no, that's not secret.
Well, the other thing we did for a while is that we had an option, if somebody wanted to keep their license, they could lose it, but if they wanted to keep it, all they had to do was petition, this was a dumb rule. They had to petition OVRC to get to keep their license. And of course, we were never gonna tell someone, so it was just a waste of time, and we rubber stamped every one of them that came through, I believe, so it was easy. But, right now, they don't lose their license, but their license is considered inactive. Okay. So, anyone have any other topic? All right, do we want to talk about rules? What time is it? 2 o'clock. Do we want to spend time on rules, or?
Madam Chair, if
Yes.
we can put that on the bookshelf and possibly bring that up in February.
I second it.
When we got more people. Yeah.
Okay. I'm good with that.
All right.
I mean, that bookshelf, it's leaning, it's lean. There's a lot of lean to that shelf, but we'll put it back up there. Okay, so, anyone have anything else, and someone move to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second that too.
All right,
Got a bunch of-
sounds unanimous, okay. We stand adjourned.
Is there a vote?
Good?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.